is up, everyone? What is up? Happy Wednesday? It's Wednesday, right? I guess so. What's everyone up to? Didn't hear my own background music. That was weird. Alright. It's been a freaking long day. Had to replace the battery in my I don't have a Jeep anymore. In my car. And then, one of my friends apparently went to the hospital with food poisoning. It was that bad. So, hooray. Okay. What's up, Dawn? Tech Chip, how's it going? How's it over on the TikTok side, guys? You bring good news? What's up, VTuber? So tell me what news you got, Nero. I reported my bully coworker, then after I'm getting slapped with 12-hour shift. Is that retaliation? Kind of hard to say without more context, to be honest there. And they could have an easy, plausible defense against it. I'm not a lawyer, so please direct questions like that to actual lawyers. I've been wine and eating. Nice. I got plenty of wine over here. I should drink more wine. What's up in Bolivia? You've been distro hopping a bit. Void Linux has been a pain in my butt. Steam is unstable there. I haven't really used Void, but I don't hear many people jumping for joy about it. Your job hunt of 3 years has come to an end. You have an internship this summer. 3 years of a job hunt? Jeez. Or 3 years of trying to find a job in the career field you wanted. Either way, congratulations. Sup, Kara? How's it going? Prices of SBC are crazy, even the orange pie. Oh, yeah, it is insane. Memory prices are the only reason right now. I don't have any Pi 5s and a couple other boards in my collection. It's just not worth it to buy a lot of the equipment that I normally would buy. We have a CISSP and just got a PMP, 12 years of experience in GRC. What salary should I be looking for? Well, I mostly know the Midwest a little bit more on those numbers, but I'd say, I mean, hell, I've been in for about a little longer than you, and I'm getting in the 140s, so that'll adjust dependent upon geographically how cost of livings and things are out there, but a more senior level wouldn't be too absurd. That's pretty good. Twitch is already trying to get me to unfollow you. They place the unfollow at the wrong places on Google TV. Try to exit or go back. Then tries to click unfollow. Open the app when it's not. Stop in the background. Tries to unfollow. Have you seen any new frameworks, laptops? What's your opinion? I haven't personally used them in a few years, but I have nothing against framework laptops. They look great. I haven't really personally used them more than maybe an hour or two borrowing it from a buddy. It's on my bucket list to try, but the problem is, well, I don't have unlimited funds. Hell, why the hell do you think that I'm doing a lot of this content? so I can actually get the money to go play with the tech that y'all also want to play with. I'm not doing it to get rich and famous. I'm doing it to pay for my hobbies. You fix your issue with Pragmata yet? Yes. It was an Nvidia bug all along. So, the bug was, for some reason, the Nvidia 590 drivers were having issues. So, the Nvidia 595 drivers are, to my knowledge, the latest ones, but they weren't packaged in the Pop! OS 2204 repository. So I had to add the repository from Ubuntu for their drivers, because they had 595 in their 2204 repository. Installed that. New Nvidia versions there. Technically, it would have resolved itself when I upgrade to Pop! OS 2604, but I'm impatient. He just has money in his IRA. Pretty much, I have more money in my retirement accounts than in my actual accounts. Try to get a sponsorship. Brother, what do you think I'm doing? Pocket OS just had its entire system and backup sleeve by AI. Why does Pocket OS sound familiar? But here's the thing. Anytime somebody says AI deleted all of a project, okay, I'm going to tell you what actually happened, because this is normally what happens. Pardon me. Eating my snack. So what'll happen usually is a dev will remove so many guardrails, which is why a lot of these projects say they are deleted by AI. So they remove a bunch of the guardrails, and then it finally does things that you didn't think about. It will have the privileges to. I've added even more guardrails than it comes with out of the box. And then what I also have done was I only whitelisted read-only commands. Like, if I have Claude going through and doing, like, ls, grep, find, those are totally fine. You know? Otherwise, I'll basically have to go and approve it. Almost every time, they didn't pay attention to what command was actually being run by the AI and just approved it. Oh no, the AI just deleted it. No, the AI said to do something that was stupid and you didn't check it. That's normally how that ends up happening. Claude wants to remove that French language pack. Well, didn't you move to Louisiana? I'm just saying. Roth IRAs or max, you also do a backdoor Roth or a separate brokerage. Right now, just Roth IRA. I'm not making enough money to go past the max right now. I do diversify my investments too, so. Who would hire you in IT security without a degree? A lot of people. I'm a senior cybersecurity engineer right now. Have you heard that Mexico being hacked by Claude? I don't know if it'd be Claude per se doing it. Somebody else is directing it. You still buy Monero? Once in a while. Yes, I do. I only hope Proton and Wine are only so good. I mean, Linux would be much better if it were native, especially anti-cheat systems. Well, anti-cheats just shouldn't exist in the first place. Well, the kernel level anti-cheat, to be specific. It's gotten to the point where the problem is already worse than the solution. I mean, the solution is worse than the problem. I had to rethink that one for a moment there. Brain, come on, catch up. You have thinking to do. Do your damn job. Word association power, activate. Alright, where the hell was I last stream? Okay, I know we were... Service CEO. It rings a bell. Alright, hold on. Trying to find where the hell we were. How was Zempic? Free rainwater, power. Alright, here we are. Cool. Do I really want to watch a video this long? Yeah, we'll find something else. I gotta skip up on some of the things that we've missed. Pi0W KVM. Okay, let's see that video. There is now no de novo game that can't be bypassed for play for free now. Killing it on the IG reels lately. Keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, I've been clipping videos from my streams and putting a lot of those videos on, and I gotta get working on the long form content as well. But for someone who's only been back on Instagram for a month, I've been doing pretty good. I grew over 10,000. So look, I got peer pressured into returning by my friends. Honestly, if it weren't for COVID, I probably wouldn't even be a content creator right now. Seriously, I'd be doing the same shit that I'm doing now and building all these projects, but I wouldn't be making content or streaming probably. You grow organically inside of Instagram? Yep. I don't care enough to pay for this shit. That's why, like, it cracks me up when people talk about, like, they get view botted or whatever the hell the thing that is. I'm like, that makes no sense to me. Like, how vain do you have to be that numbers on a screen somehow equate to your worth? Get what I mean? It's like, who the hell cares? Just do your thing. Do you use iPhone? Yeah, I have an iPhone. It's a thing, unfortunately. Is my microphone? Yeah, my microphone's working. Alright. So, let's get through some of the content that my mods have been pestering me to go through and watch. So, what is this? This was something that Vampire shared.
I turned this $15 Pi02W into a device that lets me access and control my desktop PC anywhere I go.
So you made a KVM.
Giving me full control of my PC at the hardware level. After flashing the SD card and plugging it into my desktop PC, I was able to access the live dashboard. Then, with a couple clicks on the terminal, I set up Tailscale, a mesh VPN that creates a secure encrypted network between all my devices.
I know that a lot of people like Tailscale. I have nothing against it, but it's a good solution. It didn't work out for me. So I used TwinGate. So I'd probably architect this a little bit differently.
Now, from a browser on any other computer, like my laptop here, I have a live feed of my full desktop, which also gives me complete keyboard and mouse control. I can even do the same thing from my phone. And all of this works whether I'm at home or halfway across the world. It's really added a ton of convenience to my setup, and if you want to build this for yourself, I just dropped a full step-by-step guide on my channel, so go check it out.
Alright, let's see. I got bored because unemployed, so I installed Linux, got myself CLI, and had a hardened shell. Is that good? Yeah.
Bitch, I'm trying to get cash, quick flash, quick jag, looking like a big bag. Riding through Columbus in the M-class, 10 glass, burning backwoods, dropping M-ash, M-ash.
Kara's page tipped $5.
Thank you for the tip right there. Appreciate you, Kara. Came here with a little receipt. As we jokingly say around here, we come with the receipts. What chair do you recommend for sitting long times? I have a Herman Miller Aeron with an aftermarket head attachment that I bought. Now, you're going to look up that chair, and you're going to see it's about $2,000, all right? You can get it a lot cheaper. Just buy it used. There's startups that buy these chairs all the time, and you will be happier, I think, with a used one, because you can buy all the parts individually too if they start wearing out, unlike most of the other office chairs. So if you find there's a part that isn't working, or you want to get this upgrade or that upgrade, you generally can still find that stuff. Like in the case with mine, it didn't come with the lumbar support, so I added it. And they don't have headrests, so you have to get them as a third-party attachment. That one was like about $100 or so, so yeah, it was a little bit expensive for a headrest. But I bought this chair for, I want to say $400 used, and then just threw it in my car. So all right, so anyway, moving on. What's this video that Vampire has here? Hold up. Are you saying they basically removed chocolate from chocolate? Are we mukbanging? No, we're biltonging. Oh, I probably should have showed the screen. I forgot to switch it back. I'm an idiot.
They have slashed Cadbury Easter egg prices by nearly 50% after consumers revolted. Cadbury removed the word Easter from their packaging entirely, and people noticed.
They noticed something else, too, because the recipe changed. Mondelez, an American corporation, bought Cadbury in 2010 and...
Like I said before, did they basically just shake chocolate out of chocolate? I've noticed that over the past few years, like seriously, well, most of my life, American chocolate just ain't that great.
With vegetable fat and palm oil, this dairy milk isn't legal chocolate in 27 countries. What's left gets flavored with petroleum vanillin and coated in PGPR, a synthetic lubricant made from castor oil.
Wait, what the hell? Damn.
So how many doctors are there in Doctor Who? Well,
Aren't we on like the 13th or 14th?
of course you have the main 15. So
Oh,
1,
15.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
I stopped watching after Matt Smith.
War Doctor, and the Fugitive Doctor, and then the Shulker Doctor, and then we have the Meta Crisis Doctor, and the Bi-Generation Doctor, so that brings us to 20, and then we have Billy Piper, I guess, 21, maybe.
What the hell?
Galliard and the Curator, and then the Timeless Children are a thing now. So we've got 24, 25, 26,
Damn!
28, 29, and then of course this.
I've really missed a lot.
We've got 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37.
Holy crap!
Grand total of how many doctors there are to 37. There are 37 doctors. So when people ask me, hey, who's your favorite doctor? Probably this guy. Look at him. He's a little freak.
What the fuck? 37 doctors? I stopped watching after several doctors ago. My OS Windows was compromised. Is wiping the disk and reinstalling enough? In most cases, yes. But there are some cases where it can infect at the firmware level. Little PC hardware component price will be dropped. Sorry, you rearranged some words there. When will PC hardware component price be dropping, I think is what you meant. Like RAM and SSDs. Once we get over the AI hype, once that dies down and supplies normalize, we'll be fine. But the scuttlebutt right now is that CPUs might be the next component to crunch. So, we may potentially be dealing with CPU, GPU, RAM, and SSD pricing being out of whack. A lot of DIY to find what suit you. Pretty much. Wicked cushions. Yeah, these are nice. Think Dandel Analytics jobs are cooked? I don't know about cooked, but they'll definitely change a lot with people needing more AI stuff. Or at least AI is part of their job. Billy Piper's the next doctor. Damn, really? She's coming back? Not gonna lie, RFK as Doctor Who would be entertaining. Distribution of Linux do you like the most? Kali Linux? No. I primarily use Pop OS and then Cubes OS. And then for servers, I'll maybe use Debian or Ubuntu for the majority of my stuff. Alright, so the next video we have is from Vampire, one of the mods. They shared a video from one of my original favorite YouTube channels that I follow, Technology Connections, the disappearing and unappreciated art of audible alerts. Okay, if you really are on the spectrum, Technology Connections is kind of the best thing since sliced bread, pretty much.
Do you know what this thing is? Some of you do, and many, many more of you have definitely seen one of these.
It has wires.
You might not have realized what it is. And that's because it's not meant to be seen, it's meant to be heard. This device is really...
Hidden Live works great for me.
It represents a kind of innovation which had to happen without being noticed. Because if you noticed it, that would defeat its purpose. Here, let me just hook 12 volts up to this thing.
Oh!
This is an electronic railroad crossing bell. If you've spent any time near a railroad crossing in the US, you'll...
For some reason, I thought they were actually, hitting a bell.
So you know a train is approaching, and maybe you should get away from the railroad tracks. That's a very important warning. And because we used to use literal bells, which were rung by an electromechanical striker for...
You can ring my bell, ring my bell.
That purpose, the electronic replacement for them needed to make the same sound, so it was immediately recognizable. And so, they do. These things started to show up in the early 1990s.
Really? They're not that old?
Bell was made by General Signals Incorporated, and they still produce them to this day with basically the same construction as this one. which delights me because holy crap does this thing scream hand-built in some garage somewhere. This is literally a PVC drain pipe and cap.
Wait, what?
Painted silver,
What?
with these pill-shaped holes cut out of it with bug screening installed. Hanging below the cap is a circuit board which contains an amplifier, ROM chip, and DAC.
Really?
At 12 volts, it just plays the recording on that ROM chip over and over again through an off-the-shelf horn-style loudspeaker, which fires down onto this wedge thing, which will bounce the sound out in all directions.
That's it?
And then there's this fitting on here, the only thing made of actual metal, which allows this to be installed atop the mast of a crossing signal. This is critical safety infrastructure, and it's like
It's made like a...
from a hardware store.
No.
Now, there are several different manufacturers making these things, and they don't all look just like this one, but the concept is the same. Just a loudspeaker of some sort on top of a pole, which imitates the sound of the big bells of the past. GSI is really proud of their 16-bit sound technology. Such high fidelity. Some mechanical bells are still in service, and in fact, some are even still being manufactured, so you'll still see them and hear them from time to time. But electronic bells like this are far more common these days because they're just a lot more flexible and presumably require less maintenance.
And cheaper.
They don't really have anything to service and just might one day fail. And that's what happened with this one. The loudspeaker had failed, and whatever railroad owned it simply tossed it. But almost anything can be fixed if you're patient enough, and that's how I got it working. The board was fine, if a little corroded, and the hardest part was simply getting it apart because the fasteners holding the board and speaker to the, I remind you...
Do you see how simple that circuitry is? Like, look at that. Like, I know it sounds like there's quite a few things, but I think this has all been miniaturized into smaller components now. They can probably make it, that exact thing, in a board, probably like 1/5 the size of this.
Simply getting it apart because
Can the speaker run Doom? Probably.
the pipe cap had all rusted quite badly. I still can't believe how crude this thing is. For those curious, here's the raw signal coming from the board.
That screams that there having been a bidding process involved, probably.
Compressed recording, which doesn't capture the clang of the bell really at all, and instead it comes across more like a thump. Though
I was kind of feeling that. Like, I'm like, it doesn't sound like as crisp as the, railroad rings that you hear when you're actually there. Or at least the ones that I remember from my childhood, which were probably actually mechanical. This is how you know that I'll be on the spectrum. I'm a rhythm with the tism.
through that tinny loudspeaker, you can't even really hear the thump. It's more like a tone that decays and then resets back to full intensity again and again. And this is how I...
Have I seen Big Boy yet?
when I first got
I don't know what that is.
I have a weird job, but I'm not just making a video about this railroad crossing bell. I'm making a video about what it represents, conveying information through sound. This is something we humans do all the time. In fact, I'm doing it right now. I'm using my gross wet mouth parts to modulate the tone coming from my gross wet vocal cords. And with a little constant flair, I can convey information from my brain to yours. But that's using language. Certainly one of the most impressive things our brains can decode, but also kinda clunky and slow. Our pattern matching circuits can work in many other ways too, so long as we're consistent. Hence this thing. I want to focus some attention on
UP 4014.
sound for communication purposes.
Hmm.
We have a tremendous
Have to look at that.
communication system built into our bodies that we can use in so many ways, yet I feel like this is getting neglected lately. Some of that is due to shifting cultural preferences. I know these days many people find noises to be annoying and obtrusive, but they don't have to be. And if we put a little more effort into good sound design, we might get a little closer to that sci-fi future we were promised and not the one we're being sold.
Look, I still don't have my Nike shoes that lace up themselves.
If this rings a bell, you should know it actually strikes a chime.
God damn it!
Or entry alert.
F you for that pun.
There is. It's just a plastic box with a chime and spring-loaded striker attached to a magnet. When installed on a door, a metal plate on the door will pull on that striker as the door opens, storing a little bit of energy in that spring, and once the magnet is released, the striker hits the chime bar, producing a pleasant tone. The purpose of this is to alert shopkeepers who might be in the back of their store that someone has entered. There are, of course, electronic versions of this, but frankly, none of them produce a sound quite as pleasant as these old ones do.
The Nike shoes
That's
exist.
why they're still so common.
Well, I don't have them.
By the way, allows you to turn this off if you'd like. I've always been fond of these things because they do their job incredibly well, while also
What's up, Marco? How's it going?
the sound they produce is distinct but pleasant, and it carries well without being startling. It checks all the boxes. Yes, there are fancier things out there which can activate sound makers in various locations, which might be helpful depending on the situation, such as for a larger store. And of course, now we can install smart door sensors which can even send a push notification to your phone. But if you've got a small store and all you want is to be alerted to someone walking in, these are hard to beat. They just
Wait,
work.
how much do those shoes cost now?
Batteries even. This is the same sort of thing as the railroad crossing bell. A specific sound which means a certain thing. But we can also use a wide variety of sounds to convey the same message with the use of encoding. For example,
Holy shit! You weren't kidding. Who wants to buy me $22,000 shoes? I'm joking. Please don't spend $22,000 on shoes.
you know what this means?
Ringing?
Probably should by now.
Phone ringing.
Pattern of sound is used to alert of a fire emergency.
Oh.
Full disclosure, this is not an international standard. I think perhaps there's merit to it becoming one, but for now, this is mainly a US thing as far as I can tell. But that thing is called temporal 3, and it has become the standard signal that fire alarms and smoke detectors use. The sound those things make is meant to be annoying and
Huh. I was just thinking about the loud fire alarm because we had it go off at work the other day. Yeah. That's the exact tone and pattern.
intrusive to get your attention. But you'll notice, I haven't been using the sound of a smoke alarm. That's because this signal is based entirely on cadence. 3 bursts of sound are followed by a second period. Usually this pattern operates at 1 beat per second. So you have 3 seconds of sound, then 1 second of silence. And that has several key advantages. The fact that it's a pulsing sound makes it easier to notice. A constant noise can blend into a noisy environment, but something which alternates between sound and silence is much more likely to pierce through the background.
On that note, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Dumb and Dumber joke if you don't get it.
But simply getting noticed is helpful. It's easy to notice that something's beeping, but it's also easy to dismiss that. Beeping could mean anything from a reversing truck in the distance to your neighbor using their microwave. Temporal 3's pause between every 3 beeps serves as a literal pattern interrupt. That can be somewhat jarring, so it's good for getting your attention.
Okay.
The need for a specific kind of signal to indicate a fire emergency has been known for many years. I stumbled across this old promotional record from the Autocall company demonstrating
Wait, what?
a signal they had devised and were trying to make into something of a thing. No doubt since patent royalties would be quite lucrative. The record
I guess, yeah.
list of things I just did on what makes for an effective signal. And the slow whoop did check all those boxes. But creating a device that made that signal back in 1974 required some fairly complicated and expensive electronics for the time.
The
While
klaxon?
the slow whoop did end up in use in some places, it wasn't commonplace except perhaps in certain locales. Temporal 3, on the other hand, could be adapted to almost any existing fire alarm system. All that needed to be tweaked was how power was sent from the fire alarm panel out to the horns throughout the building. Rather than send constant power during an alarm, it would be pulsed following the temporal 3 cadence. And with that simple change, you've made the alarm far more distinct and noticeable while also giving it a specific meaning. But the somewhat odd thing is that despite this being an option for over 50 years and even being encouraged by various fire safety organizations, it still isn't quite universal in commercial fire alarm systems.
No shit, I've noticed that too.
It's weirder by the fact that when it comes to household smoke alarms, temporal 3 has become effectively universal. Smoke alarms of my youth sounded very different compared to how they sound today. I don't know when exactly that change happened, but it's been something like 20 years. And here's the thing, standardization...
God damn it, I'm never gonna be able to unhear that now.
had to happen because, in addition to smoke alarms, we also use carbon monoxide alarms in the home. That's a very different kind of, but no less dangerous, emergency. And in many cases, those two functions are
I
combined.
see Samsung when I'm wrong about something, which is way too often.
That necessitates a different kind of signal for the two different things it's designed to alert you to. And a carbon monoxide alarm in the US produces 4 rapid beeps with a long pause in between them, like this. That is quite distinct from the other alarm pattern and makes the two alerts easy to distinguish.
This sounds like a low battery.
Standardization, which codifies what different sounds mean, is an unquestionably good thing. That's why the crossing bell still sounds like an old school bell. And in many places now, it's required by fire codes. The National Fire Protection Association specifies temporal 3 for fire evacuations and temporal 4 for carbon monoxide. But what I think is so strange is that apparently this is just something you're supposed to pick up on. I don't think I've ever encountered anyone explaining the difference between those two alerts.
Even in fire drills and fire emergency safety.
Silence between them
I've gone through my OSHA 40 hour, and we never went over this shit, to my knowledge.
is now the near universal signal for a fire emergency. And I think that's just kind of strange. So I'm doing it. You're welcome. Of course, we've been using patterns of sound to mean certain things for centuries. Clock towers ring bells in certain sequences so anyone in earshot can tell the time.
I've never heard my carbon monoxide alarms go off. I'm going to be standing here around in the carbon monoxide so long wondering, WTF that noise is supposed to be. The irony of he doesn't leave the house because he's too curious about what that noise is, so he dies from carbon monoxide poisoning, trying to find out where the noise is coming from that's from the carbon monoxide detector.
And even something as simple as a doorbell can be configured to...
Aren't they supposed to test the fire alarms work? Yeah, you're supposed to generally do that once a year at least.
Was at the back door.
Ding dong.
Now we just text here, so that doesn't matter so much these days, but there was that period of time where you had to learn Morse code to send text messages, so you know. There's another example of using patterns of sound to convey a specific meaning, one letter at a time. But here's a much more modern use of sound patterns, which is still in use today, and which demonstrates a mastery of sound design. Yeah, those bings, bongs, and bing bongs you hear on an airplane are another form of audible alert, with some surprising flexibility. Those are used by the crew to communicate specific needs to one another. For instance, if the captain needs to speak to the flight attendants. The specifics vary from airline to airline, but pay attention and you'll pick up on a lot. That's actually just good life advice in general. It's
Yeah.
like this. But the thing about those bing bongs is that they were designed to be noticeable,
Bing bong.
to convey complex meaning, and, unlike what we've been discussing so far, to be unobtrusive. I've certainly been on airplanes where the volume was set a little too high, so they can be obtrusive. But when done well, it's the best of both worlds. It's a signal designed to be noticed by the people who need to notice it, but to be subtle enough to not distract you from the movie you're watching, or the book you're reading, or the sleep you're trying to get.
You know what also blows my mind? The fact they still have to have that lighted indicator for no smoking on the planes. I know it's an FAA requirement. I know that. But you think after so many years of people knowing not to smoke on planes, that they would, know that you don't have to put those lights up? Like, do you know they still have ashtrays in the bathrooms? Now, I was told the reasoning was because if you do catch them actually smoking on the plane, you at least have somewhere to put it out, rather than throw it in the trash.
And through the use of two tones with two different pitches, there are several distinct patterns which can be used to convey different things, like who is paging who. It's a system that's been in use for a very, very long time, but which does its job in such a subtle way.
You have pages with no vaping signs in 20 years.
Airplane bing-bongs, in my opinion, demonstrate the amazing things we could be doing with careful and intentional sound design if we only wanted to. Maybe I'm just weird, which I am, but it feels like we just sort of lost the ability, or perhaps desire, to do this. When I was a kid, people wore wristwatches which doubled...
Do they have now no vaping on planes? Yeah, you're not allowed to vape on a plane.
But today, devices which make noise almost feel...
Last I heard, vapes were not allowed to be done on planes anymore either.
Curate a selection of notification sounds for my phone and set them on a per app and even per contact basis. This is something I find incredibly helpful, but which clearly went out of fashion.
You wouldn't vape on a plane.
No.
You wouldn't download a car.
Social anxiety about that. What are you talking? That's ridiculous. I understand that we are probably in a corrective period after the years of incredibly irritating ringtones. And these days, a lot of you have way too many apps.
How many of you downloaded ringtones for your phone? Now, how many of you got ringtones through those ads on TV for your flip phone or your brick phone? The ones that, they would show you like 3 or 4 different ringtones, usually like on MTV. Hit this combo and this short code number to get these ringtones. That's like $1 or $2 a ringtone. Something to work on your Nokia 3310. Because, you had to, make sure that Get Busy from Sean Paul was, playing whenever a particular somebody called.
Sending you way too many push notifications, which is more of a condemnation of push notifications and not the apps you use, for the record. But personally, I choose to work to keep things on my phone at a reasonable to manage level. And there are plenty of non-intrusive sounds out there. I've been using my own custom sounds for years, some of which are airplane bing-bongs. I just like to know what that notification was and whether it needs my immediate attention, no matter where I might have set my phone down or before I even take my phone out of my pocket. And look, I am not about to buy another computer to wear on my wrist. I simply refuse to be that plugged in any longer. Though if someone would resurrect the Pebble, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. Oh wait, that happened. Yeah, I started writing this script a long time ago. Smartwatch. I'm not about to go on a tangent about it, but if you're like me and
the Pebble watch was a great watch
with a whimsical design philosophy and battery life measured in weeks and not days, well, you should know it is coming back and it's even open source. I'll put a link in the description for those who want more info. But anyway, even though I have what might be my favorite ever...
He said he'd have information. Oh, there we go. The Repebble. We're going to have to look at that in a bit.
Gadget back on my wrist. I still want my phone to make a sound because I have a really hard time noticing vibration and always have. I even miss it on my wrist sometimes. So for me, I consider audible notification sounds to be an accessibility tool. But I am also considering
I like vibrations on my wrist more.
sounds which aren't obnoxious, like those airplane bing bongs, or the people mover chime, or this one. That's for those of you who still think I'm car-brained. I would fun to be had here. And while I am sympathetic to the notion that sound pollution is a thing we need to be concerned with, the choice between silence and sound pollution is a false choice. There's a lot of those happening these days, probably because we're so stuck in binary thinking. But as airplanes show us, we can design sounds which aren't obtrusive, but which are helpful. And when you get yourself out of binary thinking, you can do things like make your most obnoxious apps be silent, while your important ones make themselves known, and in ways which are meaningful to you and pleasant to everyone else. And to be clear, I don't think it should be up to you.
Dude, Pebble is looking great. Add to the pile of tech I can't afford right now.
I think we need to appreciate and bring back
Yeah, they look pretty good.
Good and intentional sound design. Many years ago, I made a video on elevator chimes and how in the US, the Americans with Disabilities Act requires an elevator which is going up to make a single chime when it arrives at the landing, and an elevator which is going down has to make 2 chimes. Very few people even pick up on that unless they're who that's meant for, the blind. But it's incredibly useful for those who need it, and when we design things well, we can make them useful for all. I'd love it if our tech overlords could be bothered to hire some good sound designers again who understand the tension between sound pollution and accessibility.
Yeah, sounds used to be great on system many years ago.
All kind of suck. And
Yeah, they do.
if you want to be intentional about it, it's a very clunky experience to set up, even using the sounds the phone came with. And I
Yeah,
know
that makes
people
sense, yeah.
designing phones today don't give a rat's ass about people like me anymore because they've made what I consider to be basic functions like putting a phone on vibrate or silent or adjusting ring and notification volume to be way more difficult than it used to be. It's irritating enough for someone like me and genuinely a problem for people like my parents. When an Android update changed how that worked, my mom kept accidentally setting the notification volume way down, and she was missing stuff right and left. That's not really an issue with sound design, but it is an issue with basic usability and accessibility. And
That is one of my complaints with the Android is it can completely change like that
want our crap to change on us like that.
and be different per phone.
Software upgrade that's user hostile. Think about other people for once. While I'm ranting, let me also just say, I wish I could make my phone do things like suppress the notification sound when someone is texting me a lot, and simply make the noise once every minute at most. The beautiful thing is there's a setting which claims to do that called notification cooldown, but it clearly doesn't work because it's been on the whole time. Classic Google. My first cell phone did, which was keep beeping every few minutes to let me know I had an unread text. Obviously, I wouldn't want it to do that for every text message.
BlackBerry had an indicator light. Like this little red or green light that could be on there to let you know when there was an unread message. It was great. You would literally just open your phone and be like, oh, I got a message.
I receive, but maybe for starred contacts. And like, this is a computer. That would not be really hard to implement at all. But nobody in charge of notification settings in Android world, at least, can imagine it being useful, so it just doesn't happen. And I know there's probably some app I could use to make that happen or some other phone out there which can do that, but I truly don't think it's that
Unihertz Titan 2 Pro is the all-new BlackBerry lookalike. It comes with the LED indicator again. Ooh.
I'd like that way more than I want my phone to help me write an email. Okay. They don't need to know about that one Gmail account of yours, which for some reason has literally never managed to send a push notification to your phone, despite tinkering with the Gmail app settings and the Google account settings and the phone notifications several times off and on throughout the literal years. They don't need to know that. It's not important. Everyone knows everything sucks now. But it sure could suck a lot less. Anyway, earlier I mentioned the notion of false choices. This is something I keep noticing more and more in the world of tech, and we really need to start becoming aware of when people are pushing them on us and rejecting them. A designer's idea of best may be great, and it could be appropriate for a large majority of users. But one man's presets are another man's hell. And if we don't give people the option to do something differently, it's important to
Dinner time. Be back later in case I don't make it in time. Hope everyone has a nice remainder of the day. See you later, Tech Chip. I'm gonna take a look at this phone in a few minutes too. They mentioned.
Audible notifications that are irritating and possibly don't even work correctly, and a phone which never makes noises at all. And I believe we keep getting caught up in these false choices because we no longer do a very good job of considering what might be important to other people and the scenarios those other people might encounter in their day-to-day lives. Because you know what? I would like to have an audio cue to tell me I got an email and from which account. Many times I'm waiting to hear back from someone and I don't want to miss being notified, which, as I explained earlier, often happens to me since I don't notice haptic vibration quite frequently. And yet, I would
Haptics work better for me, but yeah.
do it on my wrist so I know whether that was the thing I was looking out for without digging my phone out of my pocket. I want my technology to make my life easier, and that means I want my technology to do things that work for my weird brain and its weird brain things. And yet, I would also like to be considerate of the people around me. So I would like to have audio cues which are unobtrusive.
I'd also like to be able to walk around and not have some person go on speakerphone for all of us to know their business while we're grocery shopping or getting on an airplane. Seriously, if you are one of those people that is actually doing that, please stop it. Get some help. That is just a pet peeve of mine.
I make the effort to do that, but it's way too much effort to be putting on the end user. We can have the best of all worlds, but it requires intentionality, respect for other users and their needs, and respect for other people. Only then will we truly be living with each other.
All right. So let's see what the new watch is about. So they have the new Pebble watch over here. After 9 years in stasis, we're back. Why? Because no one has created a smartwatch that fits our specific set of needs. Always on e-paper. Yeah, I've really grown to love e-paper to the point that I would love to have a couple of e-ink monitors here for me to read documentation or do whatever. And then just have, like, if I could have, like, 2 regular monitors and 1 e-ink, or 2 regular monitors and 2 e-ink, that'd be great. Because e-ink screens are just so much better to read, and they're so much easier on the eyes. Anyway, long battery life, simple and beautiful user experience, buttons and easy to customize. Like, yeah, like the Apple Watch. I've never understood why the Apple Watch has this, like, bright-ass display. We don't need that. Just give me a backlit e-ink display, maybe in color. There's no reason to have AMOLED and all that whatever shit they're throwing into the Apple Watch, because I'm not watching a movie or anything on my, watch. I am looking at the time, doing a timer, monitoring my workouts, my heart rate and stuff like that, and using Apple Pay. And that's primarily all I do with it, except maybe preview some notifications. So, yeah, like, Apple really should have an e-ink, Apple Watch. And there should definitely be a Pixel Watch that does the same. Pebble was one of the few that actually figured that out. And the great thing about an e-ink display is they use, like, almost no power. Like, okay, so that Mesh-tastic LilyGo T Echo Plus, basically, the bigger version of this guy we're testing. So this guy over here with an e-ink display and GPS on can last a couple of days. It can last about a week, if I remember, if you turn GPS off. Now, the one upstairs, the LilyGo T Echo Plus that I'm carrying around, it lasts about a week with GPS on, 6.5 days, give or take. And then it is now on day 7 with the GPS off in my testing. So yeah, I love the e-ink displays, and I wish more devices would use them. So now we have, what is this, the Pebble 2 Duo. Okay, so this is just a remake of the original Pebble 2. Barometer and compass, 1.2 inch black and white e-paper screen. I mean, overall, the Pebble was a pretty great watch. But the Pebble Time 2 looks nice. So let's see. Comparing it to the... We'll see about that. But $225 for a smartwatch, I mean, that's actually relatively cheap. So, Pebble 2, Time Plus, and all new Pebble. Oh, so they already did their... No, this is, Oh yeah, so this is the original Pebble, thing. Didn't the company, like, go out of business or something like that happened a while ago, if I'm not mistaken? Anyway. Yeah, this is a watch I could get behind. Stainless steel frame. Touchscreen. 1.5 inch color E. I wish they'd just go with metrics, because I would rather the measurements be in metric. But it is what it is. What are the 4 color options they have? Oh. Those are nice. So the primary colors are around the band and the side panel, it looks like. I'd probably go for a silver blue. Okay, so it looks like they have black and silver for the main pieces, and then the bands, I guess you can get whatever color. The one thing that's gonna bite is because this is so niche, you're not gonna find much accessories for it, I guess, for a while. But it still looks like a great little watch. How much day-to-day interaction do I get with the Meshtastic? At least a half a dozen messages or more a day. You would choose black. Well, of course, you know what they say. Once you go... I'm never not going to finish that. You also have the round one. I don't know. I kind of like square watches a little bit more. But, I mean, either way, it'd be nice. But this is a heart rate monitor. I don't know. Anyway. So, that's interesting that that's happening. Now, the Unihertz Titan 2, this was the phone somebody said, is basically going to be like the BlackBerry successor. It's kind of a weird form factor. Like, yes, you have this, but, like, if we compare it to, like... This is, like, the LilyGo T-Deck over here, but this is, like, very similar to what a BlackBerry was. Do you see the keyboard layout? Like, that keyboard layout over there is entirely square. And the screen proportions of that look like it's just, like, so massive that it feels like they shrunk the keyboard down from this guy over here. And then you have this back LCD thing over here. I mean, I like the concept behind it, but the execution is of concern. It's also $500. Not too bad. The specs on this are... a Dimensity 7300. Not familiar with that. 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5. 512 gigabytes UFS 3.1 for storage. So it's not too bad. Especially when you factor in the dual nano SIM card with a charge rate of 33 watts. So that's pretty nice. Probably should be able to do eSIM because of Android and all that. Interesting, it still has got 2G bands built in there, but it's got wideband acceptance, but you're going to have to... get it in the right spectrum for your stuff. That's interesting. So the iPhone, as I remember, only had GPS and GLONASS, but I don't remember them having support for BeiDou and Galileo for navigation, so that's kind of nice. And still no headphone jack. And there also isn't wireless charging, which, I mean, you can take it or leave it. I only do wireless charging very rarely. So, Unihertz don't do that much software updates. I had a Unihertz phone. We have grown men wearing makeup. Who the hell cares what people choose to do? I mean, Michael Jackson wore makeup. A lot of the rock bands in the 80s had makeup on. I don't care what anyone chooses to do. Don't bother me. Alright, what's this? Kiss had makeup. Yeah, Kiss had makeup. What's this? Alright, let's see. What is this that HBX shared?
Getting hacked or buying Bitcoin and how you're getting stolen. And somebody had mentioned how mining works. And I thought, oh, mining Bitcoin. That's like buying a machine that prints money. And I'd already understood what Robert Kiyosaki says. The difference between rich people and poor people is poor people, they get their money and they instantly spend it. For rent or insurance or car payment or food or what, it comes in and they instantly spend it and it's out. So then they have to keep working. Rich people make their money and instead of instantly spending it on their bills, they put the money into an asset first and then the asset generates cash flow to pay their rent and their...
Right, but they have the money to do that.
They take the same money, but they put in the asset first and then the asset buys the stuff. So then you can grow your asset. You never want to take 50 grand and just buy a car. Take 50 grand, put it in the asset generates cash flow to pay the car payment. 3 years later, the car...
Yeah, I showed my mom a little goatee, and she loved it because it was her first cell phone.
Jet skis or a motorboat.
It's a nostalgic format.
I looked at Bitcoin as like the golden egg, and I looked at Bitcoin mining as the goose that lays the golden egg. So I wanted to take my money, put it in miners, and then have miners, an asset, spit off cash flow, Bitcoin. But I couldn't find anybody to sell me any equipment. And I had already tried to buy some equipment from companies like Butterfly Labs, but they...
completely forgot about that company.
And then they never delivered the miners.
Right.
You know? So that was frustrating to me. And I ended up on Necker Island, and a company called BitFury was sponsoring an event. And Richard Branson was there.
Man, I forgot about that company too.
BitFury was actually making the chips that mine Bitcoin, these ASIC chips. When you started out, you could do it on a laptop computer, CPUs, and then somebody thought, oh, we can do it on graphics cards, GPUs, like Nvidia and the GPUs. And then
Get to the point.
other guys were like, let's make ASIC chips that are even faster. They're specific to hash, they call it the 256 algorithm, SHA-256. So
SHA-256D.
after the event, I was like, will you guys sell me some equipment? They're like, no, we don't sell the equipment. I'm like, why? They're like, this equipment prints money. Why would we sell you a machine that prints money when we could keep the machine and print money ourselves? And I thought, well, I guess you got a point, you know? So I couldn't understand why they were sponsoring the event if they didn't want any customers. That was foreign to me because every time I'd sponsor an event.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I'd keep my nose down.
The reason why I sponsored the event, these guys were doing the opposite. I was like, what the heck?
Tax deduction?
But I kept on them, and I, you know, every week I'd probably reach out, hey, can I buy a machine that prints money? No. They told me no. But I just don't take no for an answer, so I just kept on harassing them. And in the meantime, I heard about this organization called BitClub, a private membership association that had a data center up in Iceland, and they were running these a trip up there for us to meet the owners and see the data center. So I show up, 200 people are there. They take us through the data centers, and I find myself in the Crystal Lagoon with Matt and Russ, the owners. And I just asked them, like, hey, this is cool. Where are you getting your equipment from? And they said, a Chinese outfit called Bitmain. I said, okay.
Oh, yeah. That company, too.
And they said 300,000 a petahash. And I thought, maybe I could get a bit. My light bulb went off. Maybe I could get these guys a better price. So I call up the Bitfury guys and I'm like, hey, I might have a customer. Are you guys down to sell me some equipment? Like, please? And they're like, we'll sell you equipment, but only you. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So how much is it? It's $1 million. Okay. So the idea was get a quote from them, mark it up a little bit, and send the quote that way and see if they'd buy it or not. And I would just stand in the middle.
Okay.
Well, they gave me a quote. It beat the Chinese. So Bit Club said yes. So I sent them some equipment. And we spent the next couple of years ping, 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 back and forth, bringing the price of Bitcoin mining hardware from 300,000 a petahash to 150,000 a petahash, which saved the members of Bit Club millions of dollars. So I brought on all my friends, my mom, my dad, my uncles, aunts, and cousins, and my brother.
Oh no.
Like, we can all mine Bitcoin. This is perfect, and this is going to change the world. And
Oh no.
that was crazy, but they believed me, and they did it. And we watched Bitcoin go from $1 to $10, $100,
Oh.
$1,000, $10,000, all the way. It's $100,000. And so Bit Club started flying me all around to speak at various conferences and build data centers for them. We were looking for cheap electricity. So we set up data centers all over the place because the real way to make a profit mining Bitcoin is you got to get cheap power. And so,
Which is why a lot of it's in the Midwest and the USA.
$1 million. We built these huge data centers. We mined 92,000 Bitcoins and 500,000 Ethereum, which is $10 billion. They had over
Jesus.
100 different countries, and it was huge. It was so exciting. And we were just thrilled. And I thought maybe we'll be on the cover of Time magazine, for building the fastest company to $1 billion in sales, faster than Google, Facebook, Amazon, not market cap, but actual sales, and getting the whole world. I went to 175 countries, getting the whole world, millions of people on Bitcoin. And then one day at Tony Robbins, I was kidnapped, a date with destiny, by the feds. They had indicted me saying that I was selling an unregistered security.
Oh. He's that guy.
Physical product. Amazon does it. iCloud, Google,
Yeah, you're selling computer hardware.
Always have data centers with a computer equipment in it. You can depreciate the computer equipment. They wanted to say it's an unregistered security. So I get taken to this unmarked building, like no signs. I'm like, if these are really cops, I should be going to jail and meet a judge, see a lawyer. No, they take me to this building. They're trying to hustle me for my private keys. I'm like, no, I need to keep my Bitcoin so that I can pay for a lawyer, pay for bail. And so that perturbed them. And they disappeared me for 11 months. They bounced me around the country from jail to jail to jail to jail, state to state to state to state. My family didn't know where I was.
Wait, isn't that illegal, doing that for 11 months?
IRS, FBI, the marshals, all of them. It's probably CIA guys too. I mean, if you think about it, the SWIFT system, the Bank for International Settlements is the central bank of the world, right? They got the member banks like the IMF, the World Bank, the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve Bank, etc. And then you've got the corresponding banks like JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, and all that. And then underneath that are like the thousands of mom and pop banks. So this whole SWIFT system, about $3.5 trillion has left that system to go into crypto. So they weren't happy about this. This is back in 2019. There was no BlackRock and no Goldman Sachs. We didn't have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They were coming out strong against it. It was Obama called it Operation Choke Point, where they deplatform us and debank us.
Legal, yes. Do they give a fuck? No,
So
no chance. Yeah.
Because you can't stop gravity. You have to shut down the internet everywhere all at the same time, and they're not going to do that. So next level down is who's securing the blockchain. The miners do that. Who is the biggest Bitcoin mining outfit in the world? Bit Club. Who is the face of Bit Club? Me. I was the one speaking at all the conferences, and I'm sure they didn't like the fact that I was saying that Social Security is a big Ponzi scam and that the world is run by a bunch of devil worshipping, child trafficking pedophiles. So they didn't like that stuff. I got tired of just buying Bitcoin and getting hacked.
That went and it took a left turn way at the end, but okay. And what's this from HBX? The Diary of a CEO. See, for some reason, Florp does not work well with TikTok all the time, but it works fine with regular Firefox. So what's this that we have?
in the AI industry is extremely inhumane.
But this is me playing devil's advocate. And logically, it could be the case that the civilization that accelerate their research with AI is going to be the superior civilization.
No, it's not. This is a prediction that you're making, right?
Elon's making, Zuckerberg's making, Altman's
Yes.
making.
And do you know what the common feature of all of them is? They profit enormously off of this myth. You know, I have all of these internal documents showing that they're purposely trying to create that feeling within the public so that they can extract and exploit and extract and exploit.
So what do we do about it?
We need to break up the empires of AI. You know, I've been...
You know what? I'm behind that.
years. I interviewed over 250 people, including former or current OpenAI employees and executives. And I can tell you that there are many parallels between the empires of AI and the empires of old, right? Like, lay claim to the intellectual property of artists, writers, and creators in the pursuit of training these models. Second, they exploit an extraordinary amount of labor, which breaks the career ladder because someone gets laid off, and then they work to train the models on the very job that they were just laid off in, which will then perpetuate more layoffs if that model then develops that skill. And when they talk about that there's going to be some new jobs created that we can't even imagine, a lot of the jobs that are created are way worse than the jobs that were there. And then there's the environmental and public health crisis that these companies have created, and how they're able to also spend to try and kill every possible piece of legislation that gets in their way, and will censor researchers that are inconvenient to the empire's agenda. But what I'm saying is not that these technologies don't have utility, it's that the production of these technologies right now is exacting a lot of harm on people. But we have research that shows that the very same capabilities could be developed in a different way that doesn't have all of these unintended consequences. So let's talk about all of that. So much of...
I don't agree with anything she said. I mean, don't disagree with anything she said. She verbalized it a lot better than I did. Or I could have. Oh, so what's this?
I took my boyfriend.
HBX is sharing a lot of interesting stuff.
And even more mind-blowing than the tech is the shockingly affordable price. We track down and test the best health and wellness treatments around the world, and this famous London scan is coming to New York City.
It must be nice to, you know, just be able to travel around.
Nike slides. Testing begins by stepping into this beam of light that scans your entire body in seconds. It captures over 2,000 images of your body, and the AI maps every mole and skin marking so doctors can detect skin cancer early. Then they test grip strength. Cody took this very seriously. They check eye pressure, blood pressure, and an ECG to analyze heart rhythm. Cody says no peeking. They take a blood sample for tests that goes into this tube and shoots up through the wall. Then they use this laser to look at your arteries. After all your tests, you go right into a 45-minute one-on-one with a doctor for a full review because, unbelievably enough, your results are already ready. They look at your arterial health, your heart rhythm, your inflammation markers, your blood sugar, your oxygen level.
What the hell?
And they don't just glance at your results and tell you, yeah, everything's fine. They show you where you fall on the scale from poor to optimal, and then they project what that could look like over the course of your life.
Damn.
Cholesterol improved a lot compared to last year, but his blood pressure needs some work. They also mapped 1,600 skin markings on his body, and one spot had some abnormal changes from last year, so it was flagged for a dermatologist to review. Now the price. In London, for all these tests and the doctor's visit, it costs $400. And now, Neko Health is opening its first...
$400 out of pocket. That's cheap as fuck. You do that same thing in the U.S. healthcare system, that's several $1,000s without insurance.
First U.S. location in New York City this year. Just send me a message with the word Neko, and I'll send you the sign up for their New York waitlist. But I feel like this could revolutionize healthcare in America. I took my boyfriend to London.
Could it revolutionize? I don't know about that. More of our healthcare issues are due to diet issues. And then, in order for that to be impactful, insurance would have to be able to cover it. So, yeah. Caleb Ulko, they lied to you about AI. The study proves it. Okay. LLMs are a dead end.
Just mathematically prove that an AI agent will never do what Silicon Valley is promising. Not probably won't. Not might have limitations.
Well, get a little chihuahua.
Computational complex theory that's been settled since the 1960s. And this isn't coming from some AI doomer or
I should record videos with my dogs.
Vishal Sikka. former CEO of Infosys, board member at Oracle and BMW. He's a Stanford PhD who literally studied under John McCarthy. He's the guy who coined the term artificial intelligence. He and his team just published a paper that no one in AI marketing departments wants you to read, especially right now as we enter the era of Manus and OpenClaw, the agents that can use your browser and click buttons for you. It looks like AGI has arrived, but Sika says we're actually just watching the ceiling get higher, not disappear. Their argument is simple. LLMs can only perform a certain number of computations per response.
This I agree with.
And if a task requires more computation than that ceiling allows, the model will either fail or hallucinate. And this
Yep.
maybe it's baked into the math. But if the math is so broken, then why are the big players still promising the world? I'll tell you that
Because their asses are on fire. You know, well, their pants are on fire. Well, the reality is, why are they still pushing it? Because they need to have this hype cycle continue for them to extract as much wealth and money out of it. Like, let's look at it this way, for example. ChatGPT, OpenAI, they're only making their money off of ChatGPT. And they're making, what, 3-4 cents out of every dollar, if I'm not mistaken, that's been invested into them. So they're not really doing that well. Anthropic is, last I checked, around like the 10 to 11 cent mark, maybe. But they're doing it a little bit better financially than the rest. And then when you go into like Google, well, Google's been doing AI research for a while, so they'll survive really no matter what and continue doing this on. They've been doing this for many years. Meta, same boat. But then you start looking at like XAI as well, which is famously owned by Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk has for many years used the overinflated price of Tesla stock, and it is, look at the profit to earning ratio out there, it's absurdly high. It's like what, 117, 130, between somewhere that number, when normally I think what auto companies are around like a 7 or an 8. That's they're wildly out of whack. Well, people are starting to, realize that, and as we've seen, Tesla sales have been slumping. I don't care about your political perspective. This is objectively true. Well, eventually those numbers may catch up. Well, AI is the big thing, and if I remember, didn't SpaceX get acquired by XAI, or they acquired XAI or something like that? One of his other companies bought the other company. I can't remember what the specifics were there. But anyway, why would you do that? Well, they're banking on the valuation of XAI because it's this AI outfit to be able to, have more value basically overall into the portfolio, because Tesla, well, he's leaned so much on Tesla for the finances that he currently has that, like, what is it? When he bought Twitter, now known as X, but it's still Twitter to the rest of us, he had to do that, as my understanding was, in part with Tesla shares and stocks. He's kind of over leveraged. This is how his worth is $1 trillion. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of people don't seem to understand this, is most of the people who are wealthy, even though in terms of even liquid cash, they have more than most of us ever really have access to in most of our lives. Most of their assets are locked up. Like Elon probably only has, and this is funny to say only, a few $1 million liquid. Like he only has a few $1 million. The majority of his billions are locked up, collateralized into loans and things like that. It's the same way with Jeff Bezos or a lot of those, because the issue is that in order for them to avoid paying taxes on a lot of things, they tend to get paid in stocks. Well, you don't get taxed on what is it called? Capital gains is when you sell on it. But unrealized gains is what all those are, so then they can take those assets, take loans out against them, and as long as you're paying the interest on the loans, you can basically take that money and then go make more money with it. So, like, you have this whole, like, shuffling game of different buckets of money, making other money to pay the money that you loaned out in the first place. But the whole thing is, yeah, it's all... The world is basically driven by debt, is basically what I'm saying as. And they need this bubble to continue at OpenAI, at Anthropic, and at XAI, because they have to keep their valuations up, because these are all startups, basically. And on their own 2 feet, none of them are making a dime. Oh, they're making a dime. But they're not making enough money to even keep the lights on. We're already hearing about the trouble with ChatGPT, OpenAI, and having to pull out of data center deals and stuff like that. That's, yeah. Worth is measured by debt, not by liquidity. Yep. It's like paying off a credit card with another credit card. It's more like paying off a high interest credit card with your lower interest credit card. So a lot of people, even in, you know, homeowners can do this. You have access to, you know, capital inside of the house. What is it called? Equity. You have access to equity. Then you can take the equity in your house and turn it into essentially a giant credit card with like a home equity line of credit, and you get really low interest rates compared to a credit card. So you can then use that low interest rate, which is, it's, if I'm understanding the terminology correct, that's a collateralized loan because it's against the house, in the same way that stocks are. So you get lower percentage of interest, and then you could take that money out, and then you could put that money back into the house and fix things, or you can take that money and go invest in things, and some people totally do that. If the people stop believing, then the system fails. And that's the same thing with the American currency. And that's what a lot of American politicians don't seem to realize is, or they do realize, is that you have this interesting balancing game where we have to have American soft power around the world for the value of the dollar to be, you know, as magnificent as it has been. And if you overstretch your influence, and like think about like what's going on with the Iran war and such like that, then you lose the faith and confidence in the United States government, which is what is the value of the United States dollar. You do this long enough over time, eventually people stop believing in the dollar, and therefore the value of the dollar is lower. The ChatGPT guy is a scumbag. Yeah, Sam Altman. He definitely is. You can go bet the house on the ponies. You totally can.
Obvious reason why at the end of this video. But first, I want to look at the ceiling that they discovered. Now, when you send a prompt to ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or any of the current frontier models,
or your mom. Your mom's just a love machine. And I don't work for nobody but you.
to generate each word as an output. This happens through the self-attention mechanism. This is, of course, very simplified. But think of it like this. Every word in your prompt needs to look at every other word to understand the context. So if you have 1,000 words, it's 1,000,000 comparisons. 1,000, 1,000. But there's no, let me think about this harder. There's no, give me more time on this one. Every token gets the same budget. A simple hello gets the same number of operations as a complex physics problem. The ceiling. It's not about better hardware, it's about the architecture of how the systems actually work. The paper, and I have it here on screen if you want to read it, it uses traveling salesman problem as an example. To visit 20 cities and figure out the shortest possible route between those cities, you need to check over 2 quintillion combinations.
The potion number 9.
Physically cannot do that math in one shot. So, what does it do? It guesses. It pattern matches.
Right.
It gives you something that looks plausible. And it's not a bug, that's the architecture. But how would you...
This is why I tell people that LLMs and AI, as we colloquially call it right now, is basically glorified autocorrect. It does it really, really well, but that's all it is. And that's why it worries me when people, like, treat these like they're living sentient beings. They're not there yet.
Actually handle tasks that require that level of computation. Next, I'll show you why even verifying the answers is just as impossible for these models. The authors of this paper make a distinction: doing a task versus verifying it. Now, you'd think that the model could at least check if the answer is right, even if it can't handle the computational complexity to calculate it. But no, verification often requires just as much work as solving the problem up front. Any AI demo you've ever seen, it was running tasks designed to stay under the necessary complexity ceiling. They work because they're
Double audio, probably from headphones on your mic. Yeah, probably could be it.
They're designed to work. Meanwhile, the real-world tasks that
they are open backs
are going to blow right past that ceiling. And this is where Sika's background becomes a factor. This isn't an outsider's perspective. Remember, he studied under John McCarthy.
I can save money down there, one can eat, getting money in the dicta. God damn it, music. Why'd you cut out? I'm so tired, I'm going back to sleep. Good night, chat. Thank you for the tier 1 sub there, Justav. I appreciate you. We came back in with the receipts. Appreciate that. Go to sleep. Happy hacking, buddy.
Artificial intelligence. He's bridging the gap between the foundational laws of the 1960s and the chaotic world of AI in 2026. He isn't saying these tools are useless. Far from it. He's just saying...
They're on the same headphones. I get similar feedback. Yeah.
When the math proves they're actually pattern...
It'll happen, but I don't like the 770s or the closed back headphones. Not that I don't like the sound profile of them. It's that... So years ago, I got almost unalived in an anti-Semitic hate crime, and ever since, I've just... never really been that much of a fan of closing off all my hearing and not being aware of my surroundings.
Many fancy words, but this basic
Is Linux safe? Yeah.
Problems require a minimum number of steps.
Android runs Linux.
And the argument that the paper makes, if a task needs more steps than the model can perform, it will unavoidably hallucinate. Unavoidably. And this is why hallucination isn't a training issue. Yes, more recent models have gotten better at it, but for certain problems, hallucination is the only possible output. But
right.
You might be thinking, what about the new agentic era? Tools like Manus or OpenClaw, they don't just give one answer. They run thousands of loops, browsing the web and thinking through step by step. The tech community is calling this chain of thought or agentic workflows. And the idea is that if a model has a ceiling, just spread the problem across more steps. Give it more room to work.
Yeah, but then that has their own issues.
And here's why. If you have a fixed amount of thinking power per word, giving the AI more steps is like giving a writer more sheets of paper. Each individual sheet is still the same size. You haven't made the writer smarter. You've just given them more room to ramble off topic. That's why you'll see an agent book a flight perfectly, but then get stuck in a bizarre infinite loop trying to change a seat assignment. The math, specifically again that time hierarchy theorem, says that for complex problems, errors eventually compound. The model goes off track at step 5, and because it can't mathematically verify its own logic, the whole chain eventually...
Everything runs Linux. If your OS is open source, there's more laws looking at it and harder to hide various things. Yep.
Then, of course, you might be arguing, well, they can just use a tool, give it a calculator. After all, we wouldn't expect a human to be able to calculate the traveling salesman problem by hand. But Sika acknowledges this as well. You can build components around LLMs to overcome the limits, of course, and then the LLM becomes an orchestrator. But notice what just happened. The LLM didn't solve the problem, it just handed it off to a classical algorithm that could. But the catch?
Right.
The model still has to verify that that tool worked. And
this is what I've been saying for a while is, you know, like a lot of people just want to throw AI at everything and like AI is the answer to everything when in fact a lot of times a basic algorithm would work. No and everyone can eat, getting money in the daytime, even kinda when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets, ADHD.
Anonymous just gifted subs to 5 penguins.
Hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs there. from our mystery admirer. If you are on this list over here, you should thank them for giving you the Twitch sub over there for the 5 lucky people there. Wow. Thank you very much. That means a lot. But yeah, like, yeah, AI is a script tool. It kind of is. And the problem that I have with a lot of AI applications is not that it's a bad tool. It's that a lot of people are overestimating what it's capable of and trying to shove it in everywhere, even in places where it has too much overhead to do the task you're trying to accomplish. Like, there's no reason why you need AI to be a calculator when you can just use a calculator. So, like he's talking about in this video, where you've basically just turned the AI into an orchestrator and given it tools and handed off things like that, then it just
Jason 1134
it doesn't
is now
really
chilling in the lab.
fix anything. Hey, thank you for the sub over there. Why is the music not going off tonight? What the hell? Anyway, thank you, for the gifted sub. There we go. Me know everyone can eat, getting money in the TikTok, even can it when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD. And then, of course, it cuts off. Thank you for that gifted sub right there for from Bengali Antex to... Looks like Boogeyman got the, gifted sub there. Should shout them out a thank you. Thank you for all the gifted subs tonight, everybody. I appreciate all of you. Oh yeah, there was also a follow in the middle of that. Thank you for following. I can save money now and everyone can eat. Get money in the big time, even can it when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD.
Anonymous just gifted subs to 5 penguins.
Hey! Another gift bomb. 5 different subs over there. Thank you, mystery person. I appreciate you. Happy hacking, whoever you are. Appreciate it. You don't have to, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Want to tell your boss to F off AI? But like I was saying, the problem with AI is that not that it's like this... immoral, unethical tool, I'm going to take that approach of. It's that square peg and round hole. There's a lot of cases where I've seen people adding AI to a product that an algorithm could have just fixed it just fine. But yeah.
Verifying correctness requires more math than the model can do. Again, the agent fails in unpredictable ways. Well, what about those massive context windows? Gemini 3 Pro can see 1 million tokens at once. Yes, that solves information access. It doesn't have the computational steps.
E equals MC squared plus AI.
Doesn't help if you don't have the brain power to process what's inside. So what does this mean for you? Now, the paper, it's not saying that AI is useless. Indeed, it definitely is not. I use these tools every day in my business. I'm sure most of the people watching this do as well. For the right applications, current AI, the current frontier models are exceptional. Writing graphs, summarizing, reformatting data, research and comparison, these stay under...
And they are really great for a lot of that stuff. I will not deny that. I use it for a lot of those things.
That ceiling.
When did I start using Linux? First time I started using it would have to be in 2000 when I was like 9.
The problem...
This email could have been a prompt. This meeting could have been an email. That email could have been a prompt.
The math just doesn't support it. To see this in action, look at Vending Bench 2 from Andon Labs. This is the 2026 gold standard for testing AI agents at running a business. Models like Claude Opus 4.6, Gemini 3 Pro, they're given $500 and a year to run a simulated vending machine business.
But didn't they both fail?
The agents look like they're winning. The current leader, Claude Opus 4.6...
You're the one that was able to install it when you were 9? Yeah? You have to understand, millennials were a lot more tech savvy than a lot of people understand, because we didn't have like iPads and technology that just worked a lot of times. We had to actually set a lot of our technology up and learn how it actually functioned and things like that. Like computers back in the day, like when I was 9, 10 years old, if you were gaming on computers, you knew computers, because Building a computer today is basically going to Micro Center, getting an expensive Lego set, slapping everything together, and putting it together. Back then, building a computer, you needed the knowledge of fixing a computer too, because a lot of times it'd be like, oh, well, I have to install these drivers in this order. I have to set the IRQs and DMAs, or IRQs and... was it TMA? Either way, there was stuff that you had to flip, there were jumpers you had to move, there was a lot of different things. So, it was not that far-fetched that you maybe had a family friend or, you know, a relative that could help you at least figure things out. And I had a family friend that showed me the basics of it. And back then we had, when I really got into it, we had live CDs, so we could just burn it to a CD and boot and run it. MySpace Tom taught us how to code. Plus we had MS-DOS. Yes, Tom was our friend, and Tom was the baddest motherfucker around, okay? Was it Tom Anderson, I think it is? Yeah. You're Zaniel. Yeah. So maybe just a little older than me.
Profit. Here's that test, Vending Bench 2. Feel free to look it up yourself. And here are the current standings for Frontier models. We can see Claude, Opus 4.6, $8,000. Pretty good. But here's the actual ceiling. Andon Labs calculated a human baseline for this exact same simulation.
Oh, this wasn't the thing that had actually failed and they got jailbroken.
This isn't the best ever, $63,000 a year. This is a human baseline, and it blows the AI models out of the water. The reason the AI models can't make $63,000 a year is because they lose coherence over a long time frame. Result, the frontier models, the best we can make now, aren't hitting even 15% of a human baseline. Over these runs,
in that one metric, yeah.
Give away their inventory for free due to social engineering, or they've even tried to contact the FBI to report their own $2 bank fees as fraud. And this is the time hierarchy theorem in the wild. As the chain of tasks gets longer, the AI's ability to verify its
You're Gen Z, 26 yesterday.
Doesn't matter how smart the model is, the math
God, you make me feel old.
reset the error rate, the autonomous chain will eventually break.
Mm.
So, here's what you actually do to stay on the winning side of this math. First, be specific about tasks. Draft an email using my tone and cadence. That works. Automate this workflow is going to fail. Build in human verification.
Right.
This is a structural requirement, not an option. And third, use AI for pattern recognition, not logic-heavy math. But here is the real tip-off. Why the singularity probably isn't as close as people keep saying. Because if the singularity were just months away, why are the smartest people in the room quitting? Look at the insiders. If
right.
AI was about to hit AGI, why would senior engineers be leaving to start risky startups? If you knew the world was about to change forever, you wouldn't leave. You wouldn't leave OpenAI if they're on the verge of AGI. You'd stay. To
yeah,
be part of the
that makes sense.
Lifetime, to be part of the equity of Lifetime, unless you saw the ceiling. Now, they know the next model will be better, but not qualitatively different.
You know what's interesting is I was actually going to bring up some of the points that he's bringing up on a YouTube video that I'm working on the script of for right now. Basically, it's that, I have to shop the title and everything like that. But basically, it's around that we have a problem where a lot of people are thinking that things that aren't AI are AI. Like, the amazing amount of times I've seen where I've written scripts, for example, as I've done for quite a while now. It's been a while. For my content and everything, and I have a teleprompter, you know, I read it through, and then I'll record the video, and then I'll put it on, and people will be like, oh, AI, this must be AI, or AI wrote this script, and I'm like, motherfucker, I wrote this script. I at most used AI to help me reflow and reword and, you know, do some things, but this is really just the evolution of the write a draft, rewrite the draft, rewrite the draft, and then you submit your final version in middle school and high school. That's just how it is. If you have a monotone voice, people try and say you're AI. Oh, yeah. And, like, if people have too much of a perfect sentence or they're eloquent, like, I even had motherfuckers trying to tell me, like, well, you know, it's not X, it's Y, is apparently, you know, like an AI indicator, or what was the other one? The fact that in one video I said the aha, your eureka moment, or something to that effect. They're like, that's an AI indicator, and I'm like, how many brain cells do you have to lack to understand the reason why you think AI patterns are what they are is because humans repeated those patterns in the first place so much that LLMs picked that up as a pattern. Ipso facto, people were speaking like AI before AI. You get what I'm saying there? Like, in order for AI to actually have any kind of pattern, there would have to be a pattern to exist on for it to be trained on. And I've actually, you know, basically made a joke that's half joke, shall we say, that I'm betting if you gave most of these kids now a book from the 1990s, just any random book, they'd probably think it's from AI. Like, hand them Harry Potter. They'll probably think AI wrote it. That's kind of the level where we're at, where critical thinking has gone out the window. About to go back to college for cybersecurity, and I will never use AI for any of that. I've used AI for quite a bit of it, but to be honest, all the classes I'm in are things I already knew. It's just getting it, helping me format for the papers and verbiage and things like that that you need to clean up for a final draft.
ChatGPT 5. It was better than 4, but not qualitatively different. They're starting companies that use AI as a tool, not companies that use AI as a god. The opportunity here is not chasing some imaginary AGI. The opportunity is in understanding exactly what AI can do for you right now. The ceiling is real, but there's a lot of room underneath it.
All right. Next thing, HBX shared this. The internet's most powerful archiving tools is in peril as major news outlets cut off the Wayback Machine. Journalists and advocacy groups are rallying to protect the Internet Archive's vast collection of web pages. And of course, they cut off my last free article. Go figure. But yeah, this is probably due to the fact that the Internet Archive we've been using for years, as many people are aware of, so that way we can actually hold politicians accountable for changes on their website, when news agencies have altered articles, things like that. So the Internet Archive is one of those things that we will heavily support in this community, like the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the Internet Archive and the Tor Project. All things worthwhile supporting. AI did write Harry Potter. I mean, look at that. It's either a brain-damaged person or AI. I mean, it's J.K. Rowling. I mean, it could go either way. That's a joke. Maybe a bad joke, but it was a joke. I know this is off topic, but has anyone thought of the idea of using heat generated from AI data centers to desalinate water or heat up houses in cold areas? Just want to know what other people think of these ideas. I think people have actually thought about how to reuse the energy and all that, but ultimately the issue comes down to the initial investment costs that would have to be done for those projects to be worthwhile. Alright, next video. Scientists create rain-powered solar cells. Well, wouldn't that be like hydro-powered with extra steps? Am I missing something?
Scientists just built a solar panel that can generate electricity from rain. The problem with solar has always been the weather. When the clouds roll in, the output drops dramatically. So researchers at the Institute of Material Sciences of Seville set out to see if they could add a silver lining to a rainy day. They developed a thin fluorinated...
Are you going to be singing in the rain? when the rain hits the panel? Is it gonna be Fred Astaire? I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. No? No? Okay.
Coating about 100 nanometers thick, applied to a perovskite solar cell using plasma technology. This surface is triboelectric, meaning it generates electrical energy through friction and contact. When a raindrop strikes the material, the surface's high electron affinity pulls electrons from the water drop, leaving it with a positive charge, which is carried away with it as the drop slides off the panel. The remaining negative charge stays on the surface and creates a voltage difference across a pair of electrodes that connect it
Interesting.
and the results show up to 110 volts generated from the impact of a single drop, enough to run small portable electronics. In lab tests, the hybrid device ran continuously for over 5 hours under periodic dripping water, keeping an LED lit through a simulated storm with no external power source. They also ran this more rudimentary.
You want to know what effed up thought I had? You're in an emergency. You need power to, you need your solar hydro powered cells to start working again. You just start like beating up your friend to make them cry to have like the water go on the solar cell. I know I'm effed up! That's just like the effed up thought that came to me, like, wait a minute. Could I use the tears of my enemies and get power off of it?
Test, but I'm not sure entirely what it was hoping to analyze.
The beatings will continue until we have sufficient charge. Exactly. The beatings will continue when my morale is improved by powering my fan and ice maker over there. Why not evaporate the water too and make hydrogen power?
Now, the energy from raindrops is obviously a supplement, not a replacement for some.
Oh my god, streamers thinking like me.
That need to run rain or shine, we suddenly might have a solution. If you like science and when the simulated rain in Spain generates electricity by rolling off the plane, follow for more.
Interesting. Okay, so now, what's next? Vampire is sharing this video over here.
You know there was an anime convention held on a U.S. carrier? I know.
Wait, what?
Crazy, but hear me out. CarrierCon was held this past March on the USS Hornet. The convention.
Wait, what?
Cosplays, vendors, and VTubers. Also, you could explore the different exhibits the ship offers. Cause honestly, what other aircraft carrier museum hosts an anime convention?
I would show up like Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein. Seems period appropriate.
What's up, guys? New robot
What's this?
unlocked. This is the Asimov G1. It's an open source humanoid robot that anyone can build with a and basic tools, and you can assemble it and have an advanced robot. So this makes advanced robotics available.
So this means that we will get our own Optimus, and we will not be buying them from Elon. A win is a win! Oh god! As soon as I saw Avenue Q, I know it was gonna be that skit.
I got a fast connection, so I don't have to wait. For porn! There's always for porn. Browse all day and night. For porn. It's like I'm surfing at the speed of light. For porn. Turkey. The internet is for porn. Turkey. The internet is for porn. Why you think the
Was this Jeffrey Epstein's favorite skit?
was born? Porn, porn, porn. Skip up a doo bop, skip up a bop. Wow, wow. Get down here. Oh, yeah. That's gross. You're a pervert. Sticks and stones. No, really, you're a pervert. Normal people don't sit at home and look at porn on.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. You kept hearing me say it, but it's true.
just like that, your digital game collection is under fire. Amazon Luna just dropped a massive bombshell that's changing the way we look at cloud gaming forever. Starting today, Amazon is officially killing the ability to buy individual games, access third-party stores like Ubisoft or GOG, or manage external subscriptions through the Luna platform. Wait, it gets worse. If you've already bought games,
I've never bought a game through Amazon, and now I definitely don't want to buy a game through Amazon. This is another case of Steam does nothing and keeps winning.
a la carte on Luna, you have until June 10th to play them. After that, they're gone from the platform entirely. Amazon says they're evolving to focus on Prime inclusive content and their Luna Plus subscription. They claim
what?
Gaming is more accessible, but users are feeling the sting of losing access to titles that they actually paid for. No refunds are being offered because Amazon says you can still play those games on other platforms if you link your accounts. But for cloud-only players, this is a massive blow.
Damn!
Gaming, a world where you actually don't own anything.
You will own nothing and be happy, my children. Alright. Got another video from Data Slayer, another YouTuber that we see once in a while for radio-related things. What the hell? I am not watching an hour-long video, Vampire. As much as I would like to. I don't have the time for an hour-long, you know... Yeah, we'll have to look at that later. Hated Steam, now I love Steam. Yeah, we'll have to put a pin in that for later. But let's see. What else do we have? I want my own robot to do the dishes. I feel that. Wait, what's this? Oh. Wayback Machine is partnered with Automatic. Ooh, maybe what's-his-face that ran WordPress is trying to do some damage control from the bad press going around when he did the whole thing with, what's-their-face, that other company? But yeah. So, I mean, that's nice that they're at least doing some stuff to help the Wayback Machine, but still. It's, what, Matt Mullenweg, I think was his name? Yeah. Alright, what's this? Creating a 48GB RTX 4090 GPU. Hell, I would be happy with a 4090 with 48GB too.
Steady state on the temperature, a couple hundred degrees. A ton of bubbling going on at the edges, but they're just baking the GPU back on. So at this point in the process...
Didn't we watch this video?
The PCB already had all the VRM components and the IO pop.
I think we watched the YouTube video about swapping this.
And now they've added new memory to the front and the back. One's got reused memory, one's got brand new, and then the GPU's been pulled and swapped and is now being remounted. They're telling us that this is a 99% chance success. This is what Kingpin called the nervous part.
Oh no, this is Gamers Nexus's video.
Fan.
We watched a different creator, but not Gamers Nexus ones.
They took off the old board, or do they need a new cooler now?
新的，对，放好以后要先试一下能不能亮，不能亮还要继续修呢。
OK。好。所以现在测试的吗？
对对，测试看能不能成功嘛。
嗯。
That's the
oh, cool. Snapping.
Moment of truth.
Moment of truth, yeah. So he's just gonna hold the heatsink on and see if it powers on. Cool. Okay, so now he's testing to see if it actually powers on after all that. It's got a green LED with displays up, debug up top.
Okay, interesting.
In place, because all he needs is power to see if it.
I'd love to get 48GB in a GPU. I'm running with 16, 4 times the amount.
So it is functional. That's just a question of everything detects.
I don't know. We're lucky. He's like, usually it doesn't turn on the first time. It's a while. They know we have a train to catch.
Yeah. Does he know, do the customers who buy these, do they mostly put them in servers?
Yeah, it's like if the customer buys more like multiple units, then it's probably
server. Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna fly to China to get some of these GPUs off the truck.
Yeah. That's why the blower fan would be better for servers, because they pack them in so tight.
I was just asking if they have different choices for the cooler, and they're like, there's only one. They don't have a choice basically.
所以这个327你也在淘宝买的吗？这个
对。
Okay.
Well, Taobao is an online market like an eBay.
So next step, one of the last steps in the process, since it booted and worked now, they are pulling the protective film from the thermal pads. There's a PTM, or actually that might be a paste actually, pre-applied. Looks like it was a silk screened on there.
Yeah, it looks like it's just a bunch of pads. And then you probably need some more pads for the back. Yeah, there's a back plate there.
So it looks like he's starting.
Yep, and I feel like more people are gonna have to do that with 8GB GPUs now becoming the norm again. Hold on. TikTok sometimes is a prick to florp. So let's see.
Moment, a man
Doorbell video appears to show suspect threatening residents of California home.
dressed in black demands to enter a private residence in Fairfield, California.
Open the door. Now.
In the
This is the type of guy that was probably a Reddit mod that, you know, thought he was scarier and more intimidating than he is. And wears that black trench coat just to be like that dude. But then also he's like wearing flip-flops. Like, dude, pick a motif here. Like, you have a trench coat with this Demon Slayer t-shirt and then like baggy pants and flip-flops. Like, what the hell, man? You are giving off both hipster and homeless in one picture.
video, the man later identified by police as 30-year-old Jason Nichols.
Oh, kicking the door? Yep, this guy's definitely crazy. You know, you can't... Look, anybody that is wearing, like, you got trench coat, you got Demon Slayer shirt, you've got sandals. Like, it's kind of one of those, like, if you have any two of these three, there's like a 90% chance they crazy. Okay? But we got all three here. So that bumps the probability. Okay, maybe not 90%. Let's say 80%. It's a B minus. But once you have all three here, that bumps it up to like a 98%. It's kind of like the same thing about how you can judge a person by how many cats they have. Like, one cat, okay, there's a modicum of crazy there. Two cats, okay, we're starting to see more levels of crazy. Three cats, you need to go into a padded cell. Four, cats, okay, now straight jacket level. 17 cats, though, Thunder, okay, at that point, that is, you are a crazy cat lady dunking your cats into the river down by the, the river. They had in The Simpsons, the one episode, the crazy cat lady, just dumping them in. That's 17 cats right there. You know the type of person, you walk into their house, it smells like cat pee. And it actually smells like cat pee, not the chemical that Walter White also happens to make that smells like cat pee. Or am I thinking of the alternative of the Coca-Cola that, you can basically turn into a concentrate? You know what I'm talking about exactly. 3 cats isn't that crazy. My friend has 3 and she's not that crazy. Abby, with all due respect, and I love you, buddy. Okay, we hung out IRL, we had drinks and everything like that. You're gay. You like lesbians have cats or dogs, sometimes both. But there's always a level of crazy. You know what I'm talking about. I have lesbian friends. Love them to death, don't get me wrong. But lesbian friends tend to be like that one step up. you know, like, they already are at, like, a higher level of crazy as minimum. Don't get me wrong, it's a great time. They are fun because of it. You will have some of the best times partying with them. But tell me it ain't wrong, okay? Okay? I mean, y'all have the stereotype of the U-Haul lesbian. If you don't know what that is, chat, basically, now you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is that they're basically ready to move in after one date. That's my token straight friend couple with the 3 cats. Me and my wife only have 2. So, see, a lesbian couple with 2 cats is equal to 4 straight cats, okay? In terms of crazy, if we correlate the crazy. Okay? I'm gonna get canceled for this shit.
Asks about the homeowner's daughter.
Where's your daughter, man? What are you talking about?
While claiming to be Harry Dresden, a popular urban fantasy character.
What the fuck?
You then hear the homeowner, who was away at the time, repeatedly tell Nichols to leave.
Can you leave my house, please? Can you open the door, please? You have nothing to do with my house. Can you leave my house?
Triggering this terrifying reaction.
What the? What in the hell? Reddit nerd rage, no pussy having reaction was that?
According to a police statement, a woman and child were home when Nichols entered through a separate sliding glass door before the homeowner finally arrives at the residence armed with a shovel.
I don't know who you are.
According
Shotgun, baby. I like, just rack that baby. That's gonna scare anybody sane, but it probably wouldn't have scared Mr. Reddit mod over here.
to the statement, the altercation turned physical with both sustaining head injuries. It's unclear if Nichols had any connection to the homeowner or his family.
Just look at that picture. Just look at that picture. Like,
or his family.
These are crazy eyes. These are crazy eyes. Like, you know, that's crazy eyes on a dude. You take those same eyes, put them on a woman. That's crazy eyes, okay? Just crazy eyes in general. You see that? Run.
Family. Minutes later, police arrest Nichols, now charged with 4 felony counts, including threatening a crime with intent to terrorize. It's unclear if Nichols has legal representation. Chilling new Ring camera footage shows the moment.
Well, I'd say by the fact that he's got, you know, sandals on, the answer, does he have legal representation, would be a no. I tend to presume that people that go around, you know, most of the time wearing sandals and a trench coat aren't the kinds that have money. Okay? You can prove me that, you know, you can prove me wrong there, but I mean, I'm just saying, those two things together are like a high indicator of, like, you ain't all right. Because there's no one, not even a straight man who has no gay friends, will think sandals and a trench coat in California is a good idea. Okay? Now, let's see what's next. Surprise breakthrough solves shipping's biggest problem. That we cannot power it by the power of our own gas. Like the farts that I make when I sit on the stream.
The backbone of the modern world. 90% of everything you own crossed an ocean to get to you. But as the world decarbonizes, shipping has proved to be one of the hardest industries to clean up. That's why some of the smartest engineers on the planet have turned to a very unlikely hero. Technology we moved off over a century ago. But wind is making a comeback, and this is not like the wind of old. We're
going to be talking about breaking wind.
About carbon fiber, advanced aerodynamics, AI optimized routing, and the kind of material science that came out of Formula One and the America's Cup. And right now,
wait, what?
A brand new cargo ship with mast taller than the Statue of Liberty is crossing the Atlantic Ocean every month. When I started making this video, this was a concept, but today, this is happening. I'm Ricky, and this is 2-Bit Da Vinci. Modern engineers have figured out that we can move ships with wind in completely different ways. Each is a different engineering philosophy. I'm
curious about the... Yeah, what the hell is the spinning
soft sails,
cylinder?
Flying kites hundreds of meters in the
Hold
air.
up, what?
Real companies are shipping real...
You telling me I can actually be flying up in a kite and yelling out like all day long, "Hey, you guys!" Goonies reference. Goonies never die.
Cargo with all of them right now. Let's start with the one that looks the least like a sail. Imagine a smooth cylinder about 35 meters tall, standing on the deck of a cargo ship, and it spins and...
It's coming off an orange deck. It looks like Donald Trump trying to overcompensate.
Somehow, the ship moves. This is the Flettner rotor, and it works on the Magnus effect, the same physics that make a curveball.
Hold up. Sorry. For some reason, that button didn't move to the wrong input. But yeah, so like this orange deck over here. Tall pole. That seems like Donald Trump trying to create his own Donald Trump monument to overcompensate for something.
Works on the Magnus effect, the same physics that make a curveball curve. When a spinning cylinder meets a crosswind, the air speeds up on one side and slows on the other. The pressure difference creates thrust, perpendicular to the wind. Forward.
For every kilowatt of
the Trump monument will be huge.
10 kilowatt propulsive power out of the system.
10 to 1. That means you put in a kilowatt of input to spin that rotor.
Holy!
10 kilowatts of propulsion. The company behind this is Norse Power, a Finnish company that spent
10 to 1. Damn.
Making rotor sails work on real commercial ships. They've installed 38 rotors on 22 vessels, and they just opened the world's first dedicated rotor sail factory. And they're pumping out 50 units a year, scaling eventually to 100. The fuel savings are around 5 to 25% depending on the route and conditions. Their ship, the SC Connector, averages 25% savings in the North Sea, while peaks hit 70% in Strong.
Wow!
But here's my favorite part.
We have some customers that they are able to go out when their peers are staying in port because it's too heavy weather. They can propel through the weather because they are using the weather to help go through the waves.
And
interesting.
Power launched the Spirit of Toulouse, a ship that will carry Airbus airplane parts across the Atlantic.
Each of them will be equipped with 6 35-meter tall rotor sails. So on those ships, the power of sails is already like huge. We are talking more about like order of.
You know, look, take it from a bi guy. Sometimes a good blowjob fixes everything.
40-50% of propulsion coming from sails.
50% of propulsion from spinning cylinders.
I'm here till Thursday. Tip your waitress. Try the veal.
Is built with composite materials containing 342,000 recycled plastic bottles. The payback period, 3 to 8 years, and the lifespan is about 25. And of course, the fuel, the wind, is free. You don't store it and you don't transport it. You just convert it when you need it as you're sailing. But
let me tell that to my wife and see how that goes.
What if instead of manipulating the air with rotation, we used a wing? That's exactly what bar technology.
Please report back to us if you survive.
Company Bar Technologies is from the America's Cup world. Now, the America's Cup is an international yachting event where it's a bit like the Formula One on the sea, where the teams from different countries design and race sailing yachts within a box rule. And so this,
you know, it's amazing how much money goes into that sport. I looked into it.
Ahead of kind of whenever AI got used as a term that we throw around on a more than daily basis.
I'm starting the Linux journey. Wish me luck. Nice.
For generative
Happy hacking there, buddy.
designs and development of the simulation tools. So they had this whole suite of design tools that they were using to make this really fast race yacht to try and win the America's Cup.
So they took the simulation tools technology developed alongside McLaren's Formula One team and pointed them at commercial shipping. The question wasn't, can we put a sail on a ship? It was, what is the mathematically optimal design to extract thrust from wind on a cargo ship crossing any ocean in any season? The answer, a 3-element rigid wing sail, 40 meters tall, standing vertically on the deck, and it's not a soft sail. It's basically an airplane wing. Think about a plane coming in to land. Those flaps that extend to create maximum lift, that's exactly what this is, but rotated vertically. 3 aerofoil shapes with slot gaps.
That makes sense.
That let air reattach and reduce drag. The result is 2.5 times the thrust of a single surface the same size. But here's what really surprised me. The whole thing is fully automated. The wing reads wind speed and direction through sensors and continuously adjusts its angle and camber to maximize thrust. Wind, it flattens to minimize drag. Side wind, it opens up for maximum power. There's no ropes and there's no sailors climbing masts like you would imagine in the olden days. Just push a button. And getting here took serious persistence. This was new technology. Today, Bar has 4 ships already deployed and 6 more coming later this year. The brand's Hatch, an oil tanker built from scratch with 3 wind wings, completed its maiden voyage last September, and the results were actually better than they thought.
Really?
Conditions, we've seen 18 tons a day of fuel savings from having a couple wings fitted to a ship.
18 tons of fuel saved in a single day. And during one sustained 6-hour window, wind provided more than 1/3 of the ship's total propulsion of a fully loaded oil tanker.
And we have such confidence in our simulations that every wing we sell it with a performance guarantee that in this wind direction, in this wind angle, you will see this fuel saving or this thrust power from the wind.
Now that's confidence in your engineering when you can guarantee it. Union Maritime has now committed to 34 wind-assisted vessels, the world's largest fleet with this technology. The payback period is about 3 to 5 years, similar to the last one we talked about.
Really?
An independent life cycle assessment confirmed the wings pay back their own carbon footprint in under 6 months. When I first wanted to make this video in 2022, this was largely theoretical and experimental, but according to Bar, we've hit a tipping point as of 2025, and this technology is here. So rotors save 5 to 25%, wings push even further, but they're all assist technologies. The engine is still doing most of the work. And that brings us to a third approach, modern sails. This is the most traditional design, what you're probably imagining when you think sailing ship, but with a very modern twist.
Yeah, with the, the pirate ship we're going to build on this community.
France on its maiden voyage, carrying Hennessy cognac, Renault vehicles, and Beneteau boats. 2 days in, she sailed straight into a
bougie mix.
Depression. Force 12 hurricane strength winds, and the top panel of her aft sail failed. So a first of its kind ship on its maiden voyage in a hurricane. That's about as bad as it gets, but the ship didn't stop. The crew switched to hybrid mode. The forward mast kept sailing. The diesel-electric engine kicked in and picked up the slack. The boat remained on course and arrived at its destination with only minor delay. So what kind of a ship survives a hurricane on its first voyage? Let me back it up a little.
I started my career as a merchant seaman. So I sailed on merchant vessels during 7 years.
Jean Zanutini spent 7 years at sea. Being a seasoned veteran, he knew just how important punctuality and reliability is in the world of shipping. So he took everything he learned and spent a decade building a ship that could do it on wind power. This is the Neoliner, a 136-meter-long vessel with 2 carbon fiber masts standing 76 meters above the deck. Taller than the Statue of Liberty. This is actually underwater right now doing monthly commercial crossings between France.
Is that like the tallest sailboat in the world?
60 to 70% of propulsion power coming from the wind.
60 to 70% of its power comes from wind, and the rest from a hybrid diesel-electric system that kicks in when needed. The sails are semi-rigid composite panels, carbon frames with fiberglass membranes that fold like an accordion and last 20 years. And the engineering
20 years!
The mast tilts from 90 meters down to 42, so the ship can pass under bridges. That was one of my first questions about this is, we've built an entire world and bridges around the idea of modern cargo ships. How would a massive mast look and work today? but clearly they've thought of that. And retractable anti-drift fins deployed below the hull.
Damn.
Water and fold up in port. It's like a transformer. Remember the Hurricane? Well, that's where this level of engineering and redundancy is so important. The entire design philosophy was built around the idea that you can augment power from wind and always go back to your backup when it isn't available or reliable. Today, some of the biggest brands in the world are shipping their products on this vessel. And CMA CGM, the world's third largest shipping company, has taken an interest and a stake in Neoline. Oh, there's one more thing. They have 12 passenger cabins on board. You can on a cargo ship and cross the Atlantic on wind power. And then there's the fourth.
You're gonna call me weird, but that actually would be a really cool thing to say that I actually traveled across on like a modern sailboat, basically. And just trip people up and be like, no, I traveled here by cargo ship.
Approach, and it might be the most creative. Companies like Airseas are flying giant automated parafoils with 1,000 square meters the size of a basketball court, 300 meters above the cargo ship where winds are stronger and more consistent. The kite tows the vessel forward on a tether. One of the really cool advantages of a kite is it takes up no deck space and is deployable on demand. And they're already seeing 20% fuel reductions on commercial routes. It's the only technology that doesn't touch the deck at all. So let's zoom out. Right now, roughly 200 ships worldwide are operating with some form of modern wind propulsion. And that number is double.
I wonder how many ships there are worldwide.
The industry projects 10,000 installations, and by 2050, 40,000. And the regulation is catching up too. In 2023, the International Maritime Organization set binding targets: 30% emissions cut by 2030, 80% by 2040, and net zero by 2050. The EU has already started making shipping companies pay for their carbon. So this isn't optional anymore. But here's what makes wind different from every other solution. There's no hydrogen pipelines, there's no ammonia bunkering stations, no nuclear waste storage. Wind has just been there, and it turns out it's kind of always been there. It reminds me of electric vehicles.
No, really? The wind has always been there?
EVs were everywhere. Then gasoline won. On range, on cost, infrastructure, electric cars disappeared for almost 100 years. But now they're back and they're doing well. Wind power in shipping is following the same arc. When business was big enough, it didn't matter if fuel cost a little bit more if they could make so much money by being on time. Those key metrics have to be met, and that's why wind kind of took the back seat. But it's returning, smarter, faster, and driven by AI and automation, composite engineering, and cold, hard economics. And as consumers, we're part of this too. The next time you buy something that crossed an ocean, and almost everything we have does, you can ask the brand, what % of your supply chain is powered by wind? For thousands of years, wind moved everything across oceans. It was the primary form of transportation. And then we stopped. And for 150 years, we burned our way across the planet instead. Now, wind is making a comeback. And it's amazing to see how much engineering.
That will be really cool to see if there's more wind-powered ships and stuff.
Wind directions and optimize every part of the route to make this as clean and easy as possible. And everyone wins. We get our stuff on time. It costs less because you're burning less fuel and there's less carbon in the atmosphere. It's the ultimate win-win. But what do you think? How big of a deal is wind power in the future at shipping? Sound off in the comments below.
Yeah, I think that'll be really cool to see as it develops over the years. Alright, Hans also shared this video at username instead on TikTok. What's this?
$9 solar light and turn it into an off-grid communication device. It uses a mesh network, which is basically
nice
without the need for Wi-Fi or cell service. I ripped out the original electronics, added a LoRa radio and microcontroller, spliced into the battery, and reused the solar panel for charging.
I mean, I can't hate on this at all. I mean, it's pretty cheap to do it this way if you don't have access to a 3D printer. I mean, my solar node outside is basically just a solar node with a, solar panel, and then 4 18650 batteries, so it'll stay a long time. I don't know how well this will do in the winter, but I don't know geographically where she is, so it may be fine.
Now it runs and stays charged with solar. You can run these anywhere and create your own network. This is how you build communication without infrastructure.
So the one thing I have to ask, though, is, okay, so she made the metastatic device. That's fine and dandy. She didn't detail how she's using that node. Like, is that node to be outside to amplify even further and, you know, use a bigger antenna like I did with my solar node? Or is it there just to, you know, for her to connect to? If so, then how do you plan to be using that regularly? I'm just curious. Yeah, earlier in the video you said, take a quick point around. Have you ever looked at paramotor? I have not looked them up. They sound familiar. Alright. Next video here. I spent 7 days evading America's 82 million surveillance cameras. Oh yeah, this will be interesting.
There's a strange and brand new system of cameras put up all over our streets, like this one.
Called Flock.
These Flock cameras are just a part of a rapidly expanding surveillance network which many are revolting against because they are actively tracking your license plate and your face to build a map of where you've been and where you'll likely be next.
Maybe we should all start carrying overly powered laser pointers that have, maybe infrared lights on there so you can burn out the sensors in these guys. I mean, there's lots of ways you can mess with security cameras. Not saying that, you know, you should do it specifically to these. Only test this technique on your own equipment, ladies and gentlemen.
If you're American, chances are these cameras are already active in the city you live in, including, maybe most notably, the city where...
I'd assume outdoor set is router than your regular node indoors. Maybe. This file set of YouTube videos is basically my YouTube timeline. What the hell?
I live, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
So we see people having their faces scanned. It feels a little bit like it is basically going to become the Minnesota phone book.
These cameras have solved previously unsolvable crimes.
But ever since we got the Flock cameras in, it's like they've become our best friend.
But also may pose an existential threat to our rights as Americans.
These cameras,
yeah, that's my issue with it.
Everywhere, all the time.
These Flock cameras have gotten people so fired up, they've begun destroying them, which is super illegal.
You could face between 1 and 5 years in prison.
So they began hacking them, which is apparently really easy.
You can press a button a few times on the back of these cameras and within a few minutes, turn them into your own personal spy device.
Oh!
Illegal. But if they...
I didn't know you could do that. You shouldn't do that, but you can do that.
They really are as powerful as law enforcement claim. How hard would it be?
I live in Arizona. I've heard nothing about this. Isn't the first time I heard about this? Oh, text-to-speech is weird. That's fine. Everyone needs different accessibility tools potentially to get them through. All right.
Actually avoid them.
So I wanted to put these things to the test. Actually, I wanted to put myself to the test and see what it actually would take to live my life relatively normally for a week without being discovered by a single surveillance camera.
And actively avoiding government surveillance is not super illegal.
I should cover up my footprints here.
That's when I started noticing these cameras are everywhere. On poles I had probably driven past 100 times without even thinking about it. And
we're gonna need to start making Flock detectors.
But what I wasn't prepared for was that I'd not only have to avoid these new Flock cameras, but a network that has grown into literally hundreds of millions of cameras. So to prepare for this challenge, I found this guy named Jason, a founder of 404 Media, who can teach me all about America's surveillance system.
It's hard to report on this space and not become super paranoid without letting it kind of like dominate my thoughts, like when I go out into the world and that sort of thing.
Can a person like me avoid surveillance if I were to continue living my life as is?
No, I think it's impossible. And I think that fully avoiding surveillance is like, I don't know, you could try it as a stunt, but I think that it's like not a tenable way to live your life, and it's not like a goal that is attainable at this
Unfortunately.
And that's when I got a text from my wife. And I realized I'd have to leave my house and face the surveillance network for the first time to get takeout for the family.
So I have about a mile to travel in order to get takeout for the family. But if I drive all the way there, I'm gonna get hit by 2 license plate reading cameras, but I'm prepared for this. So flock cameras primarily capture and register license plate information. So I think I should be good on a bike passing by one. Actually, we're gonna pass by one right now. Right here. Somebody like painted on this one though. That's Flock, the company, essentially creates a database of license plate information and the coordinates that it crossed at and the time it crossed it at.
Yeah, that's not super sketchy or stalkery at all.
Look up and triangulate essentially where you are at any given time. There's over 100,000 of those cameras across the US, and they're all just put up in the last few years. There's also these things called CCTV cameras. Those are primarily owned by the Department of Transportation. They're used for like traffic reports, you know, if the roads.
My registration has been up for a month and I've had no recourse. They're useless.
Investigations, although they don't have license plate tracking information. And they capture those like crazy videos you see on the news.
One car T-bones another, flips, and then nearly hits a pedestrian.
Look, that was that camera that caught that. Hey, it's me. Anyway, I gotta go get the takeout, so. And there's over 82 million CCTV cameras across the country.
Oh, yeah.
That's one camera for every 4 Americans, including babies. That's, I mean, you do count babies as people, so.
There are a lot of
babies are not people. They are malformed people. I'm kidding.
You are being filmed.
Isn't this a violation of privacy? Oh, absolutely. But the one problem that we have is a lot of people have this misconception that privacy is a right in the United States. It is not. And if you want to challenge me on this, go read the United States Constitution. Go tell me where there is an inherent right to privacy. And before you go around, well, don't we have, laws against search and seizure? From the government? Yes. But that's not a right to privacy. That's more, just the I'm not incriminating myself kind of aspect of things. Or, allowing you to search without a warrant or things like that. But yeah, is Flock in EU? I don't know if they're in the EU, but the USA, they definitely are. And it's been a growing problem. But yeah, there's no inherent right to privacy in the United States like we do with the GDPR with EU.
TV cameras at businesses, you are being filmed by automated license plate readers.
There's also all of these types of cameras as well, and probably way more, but you gotta draw the line somewhere.
Oh yeah, also this is why you shouldn't be using Ring cameras, because if I remember, there was something about Ring giving your data over similar to what Flock is doing, or they've been brought into the Flock network. But yeah.
For the most part, like when you go into public, like you're probably being surveilled in some way, shape, or form.
I'm surveilling your mom.
Successfully got dinner for the family and biked all the way home without any problems.
Better go get her another one, because that takeout is effed.
Jason was right. Maybe rerouting my path, abandoning my car, and avoiding the cameras I could see wasn't enough. Nevertheless, I made it home with dinner. But one thing was bugging me. I felt it necessary.
Think the government surveillance accountability, I will fix the problem.
So I sent
government accountability. Government and accountability. In America? You're cute.
100 police departments in Minnesota that use the Flock camera system to see if they would talk with me. And I'm not making this up. I didn't get a response from a single department.
Damn!
For Chief John Sherwin of the Faribault Police Department, the one and only person to respond to my interview request.
Holy shit!
I reached out to 100 departments.
Okay.
And you're the only one that said yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Why?
So much for the people, the police actually being representatives to the people and good stewards of the community. 100 police departments and not a single response over this?
Why?
Or, I mean, only one response.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I think in general, maybe law enforcement is a little bit not trusting of media and portrayals and motives.
And that right.
Oh no! The police are, not trusting of people that can hold them accountable. Wow!
Right there is the problem. Everything I've seen about flock cameras falls into two categories. Either they're the worst thing ever created, or they're solving crimes like never before.
They're the worst thing ever created. Can they solve crimes? Yes. But this is one of those, is the solution worse than the problem that we are introducing? That's inherently the question we should be asking.
A lot of concerns are what they are because there's a lack of transparency. The fact that you only had one person willing, I don't know, maybe that says something, but I'll tell you.
They are also used to stalk their ex.
The flock safety technology has helped.
Yeah, but the noisy neighbor sitting at her front porch is just as expected solving crimes.
Shocked at how successful we were in helping solve crime and apprehend folks, including someone who was arrested for attempted murder. The flock cameras were key.
And study after study after study cite a decrease in crime where the cameras are implemented.
But a lot of these studies are funded by the companies that make the surveillance systems, and I think
that's completely biased.
The jury is sort of still out on whether these things actually make us safer.
I'm in favor of the cameras because...
Okay, let me rephrase that. Yes, it's a bias. Biases are not always inherently bad, but it is biased to the point that it is so far skewed that it's not even credible at that point. One police officer said lack of sleep made him do that. One of the things that doesn't pop up in my mind.
Seen the safety aspect mitigate those concerns about privacy.
In Faribault, it's 10 cameras. Across America, it's over 100,000 and growing.
Jesus!
That way. It started here, in a neighborhood near Atlanta, Georgia. In 2017, Garrett Langley and his two co-founders invented a janky camera in their garage using an Android phone to upload footage instantly to the cloud.
I was like, look, we're going to go build this camera. It's got just track license plates. That's it.
When a DeKalb County detective told them that their camera helped solve a break-in case,
we were very proud of ourselves. This was not a business at the time.
Langley called his co-founders and told them to quit their jobs. In just 9 years, Flock Safety, that's their company name, serves thousands of agencies, has a company worth billions, and this is literally how many license plates are being captured since I started saying this sentence. And their cameras are in 49 states. Actually, you should guess.
Seriously, using a national surveillance system of StockX. Yep.
Actually, it's the only one not on this map. It's Alaska, obviously. But even Alaska is going to get them soon. Yeah. Why is that bad?
I think that there's been many cases of people who are wrongly accused of doing crimes.
Like in September in Colorado.
A Denver woman says that she was wrongfully accused of theft after police tracked her car using flock cameras.
I mean, this case was really crazy. I saw it and then I filed an
Was this the woman that was released in North Dakota or something like that?
Public records request there.
Basically, a package had been stolen from a porch, and Jason got the body cam footage of the cop confronting the woman he suspected of stealing it.
This cop went to this woman's house and knocked on her door, and he had printed out some photos of her car that flock cameras had taken pictures of.
You know we have cameras in that town and you can't get a breath of fresh air in or out of that place without us knowing, correct?
The officer said he had doorbell video of the theft and had tracked her car in the area using flock cameras.
And the woman was basically like, what are you talking about? Like, I did not do that. And the cop was very adamant, saying,
there is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure.
See, this is the problem we saw in a prior video where there was a gentleman that was arrested inside of a Reno, Nevada casino, I believe it was, where the AI wrongfully flagged the guy as somebody that he was not, obviously. The dude was a federal, what do you call it, Department of Transportation, like they can drive the big rigs and all that. certified. So, like, he had, like, you have to get drug tested, like, it's a more thorough test. Had his license with his, information. Had, like, beyond the typical amount of information somebody would have. Like, there was a pay stub, if I remember correctly, in there. There was vehicle registration, all that stuff. And despite all that preponderance of evidence, because the AI said that it was 99% sure that this guy was the same as another guy who had been trespassed before, the cop somehow inferred it was 100% accurate, and then the guy was innocent, spent the night in jail. Eventually it got dismissed and everything, because they did prove... Like, this is the problem with police, is that they don't critically think that there is a reasonable doubt with all of these systems. And police need to stop being in this habit of, I would not be here if I was not 100% sure, because you are not the judge. 100% sure is not your job. Your job is to chase down facts and then present that evidence to the court in a jury of their peers, and then they, the jury, decide on the facts of the case. Like, yeah, like, how many times have police been 100% sure to be 100% wrong? Cops using AI is very bad cop work. Absolutely. Like, what was it, like, this whole thing, like, cops, I trust my gut. Like, what, you're not going to trust your own gut? You're going to trust the tool to tell you what to think? You're not going to chase down the evidence? You're Scooby-Doo, not the goddamn Punisher. Yeah, don't even get me started on the whole irony of how many cops drive around with the Punisher logo when the Punisher would have offed those cops in the majority of cases, because the Punisher is not a hero, he's an anti-hero. And he despised corrupt cops more than anything.
100%.
She wasn't arrested, but she was issued a court summons. There was just one problem. She didn't do it.
But I can show you videos.
No, you cannot.
After a few weeks, Elser was able to get in touch with the police chief.
So she proved her innocence using surveillance, like her own surveillance.
Dash camera video from her car, a log of her location from Google Maps, and doorbell video of her walking into her tailor's house when the package was stolen.
She was one of these people who thought, I am a surveillance maximalist, I don't have a problem with this. And then it happened to her, and she did like a total 180 on the entire situation, where she's like, well...
Yeah, that's like so effed that it's like, yeah, I have all this evidence, and the cop is like, I don't care. And then you have to go to court only to prove the cop wasted taxpayer time and money. Yeah.
Well, if this could happen.
I wonder if they're doing this because people can somewhat easily make AI deepfake, although the footage could still be tampered with. Maybe. They want to ChatGPT on a camera roll to do their work.
To me, it's probably happening to other people.
Meantime, Elser is advising all of her neighbors to start collecting their own digital evidence. She says you never know when you might need it.
And that's when I had to leave my house for another mission.
This is why it's kind of stupid that people ask me why I don't have cameras. Well, I do have a camera inside, but only for certain high-value areas. But basically, why I have cameras on the outside, too, and it's like, because I can prove my comings and goings, as well as protect the neighbors around from false incriminations, that I at least have within my purview. All of my neighbors know I have my cameras where they're pointed to, and they're thankful for it, because some of them actually get their yards and stuff covered, too. But it's ridiculous that we have to proactively surveil ourselves to debunk the surveillance done on us that could falsely be used to, incriminate us.
This time, I actually just wanted to see a movie that was only in theaters. And just in case, I took that woman's advice to constantly prove my own innocence and hired somebody. That's someone I hired right there. To my own evidence. Kind of only have one.
So what you're saying is that you're a YouTuber being a YouTuber and hired someone to record you for YouTube.
Shot at this, huh? And this time I would try something different than biking because I realized that these flock cameras track...
Oh, God.
The cameras are motion activated, which means it will also capture a pedestrian or...
You hear about the person who got a ticket for having their phone out in their right hand despite not a firearm, even though, although I can't remember if it was left or right, but I do know they're going to in-person court soon. Jeez.
Or a cyclist. There's even an option for the operator to search for those things on the portal.
And despite Garrett Langley, Flock Safety's CEO, being adamant that they do not track people,
we don't track people. We track cars.
Their own patent references facial recognition several times. And I
Oh, you motherfucker.
guess that means I failed the first mission. So I'm going to take some additional steps to avoid all this surveillance with this sheet. Okay, that's it.
Please don't go outside looking like a Klansman. Please don't go outside looking like a Klansman. Please don't go outside looking like a Klansman.
Actually pretty legit.
I mean... I kind of knew where this was going. I'm just thankful he doesn't have the pointy hood, but... I would not go down neighborhoods that are people of color unless it is trick-or-treating time.
Remember the 5 layers of surveillance? The reason why they're in layers is because they operated independently of one another.
A few years ago, there may have been like an ALPR system in your town and then a separate ALPR system in the one town over. But now they are all networked together.
Now, local police work with federal law enforcement and commercial entities share their surveillance too.
And so these can be used to make like far more sophisticated like maps of your movements and sort of like what you're doing.
There aren't surveillance layers anymore. It's all interconnected.
And it's a surveillance mesh.
This is the block I live on, so I know there's no flock cameras. I know there's no CCTV cameras. But what I also know is that there's doorbell cameras.
But Ring cameras have become like incredibly popular over the last few years. Honestly, I think that Ring cameras were sort of created to prevent package theft, more or less, like so that Amazon would lose less money. And recently, it seems like they are trying to get back into partnering with law enforcement.
Ring and Flock Safety arranged a partnership where they were about to work together to share data. Until the Super Bowl, when Ring launched maybe the worst Super Bowl commercial of all time.
Search party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs.
And then the deal fell through.
Oh, they're going to try to do this again?
You know, it does raise privacy alarm bells for a lot of people.
So I became a literal ghost in my own city. That's a surveillance camera right there. Yeah. I'm trying to avoid surveillance. There's like surveillance all over the place. So.
Yeah, that's not gonna make you seem like you need a straight jacket in a padded room.
Like a white blanket on, you kind of like look like clannish.
What I say? Don't go around POC neighborhoods unless it's trick or treat time, because there are some people that ain't gonna pick up on this. The irony that just draws more attention to you. Yes.
Like that.
Clannish?
Yeah.
Oh my God! No. I'm just trying to not be surveilled by like surveillance all over the streets.
All right, I'd be careful doing shit like that.
Yeah.
For real, like.
What did I just say? I said the same thing. Like, dude, this is a little bit too clanny. And in America, unless this is like trick or treat time, don't do this.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine.
You got to be the whitest of white people where you put your whipped cream on your Wonder Bread white. You know, not white, white. To have not thought about this. See, if you're part of any minority group, immediately I'm like, yeah, this kind of seems clanny. And then like he's over here, has to get stopped by a person of color and to be told, dude, what's up with this? Because, look, if I saw a dude with the sheet on in the middle of the street, I'd be thinking kind of the same thing. Because, like, yeah,
I'm just, you know what I'm saying, making sure, because that's like kind of what it looks like. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought I'd look like a ghost.
Yeah, I got
Is this racist?
Just deadass looks into the camera. Is this racist? Ah! This kind of reminds me of like the old skits of The Amazing Racist. Does anyone remember that guy on YouTube? Like, for some reason now I just remembered that dude. What blows my mind is, like, you gotta think, like, this dude did this. He said he's married. So he had the camera person around him. His wife probably there. Probably had some friends that he was thinking of telling the idea to before he went about, you know, recording this. And so, like, if you think about this, how many other people didn't have this thought go through their... It's just this hilarious to me the more you think about it. We're just gonna put the code on.
Successfully made it to the movie theater. The movie was really good, and I completed the mission, and we never have to talk about what just happened ever again. Avoiding surveillance isn't
Too bad. We talked about it on my stream.
the only thing to worry about. Sometimes the problem is the person behind the cameras.
This is a very disturbing story, but we're going to cover
Here's an idea, COVID mask. Why didn't he think of that? Why didn't he think of a COVID mask? Like, seriously, just put a scarf on. It's winter. Use a scarf to cover your face. I normally wear a sudra, also known as a keffiyeh. You know, I wear that. You've seen it in my DEF CON videos. You can easily put that on, uncover your face. It's basically a scarf.
Into an officer's alleged misuse.
Wait, isn't this what you were talking about, chat? Kansas police chief used flock license plate cameras 164 times to track ex-girlfriend. Yeah, that's what I think you were talking about, Kara. Was it Kara, I think?
Right back in the spotlight.
There have been multiple cases where cops have stalked people using flock.
Oh my. A Sedgwick, Kansas police chief used flock safety license plate readers to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend's vehicles 228 times.
The fact that this can happen at all, I think it suggests that the system is designed in such a way that it is at least like open to abuse. And
Yeah, this is extremely open to abuse if that was that easily done. This is a system that at the minimum should require warrants before it can access.
I think you just have to look at the significant amount of good that results out of these cameras versus the one-off.
Wait, what did it say over there?
The significant amount of good that results out of these.
By the numbers, SDPD says it used flock technology in about 600 investigations, covering 6 million stolen property and making more than 400 arrests, including 6 homicide suspects.
Cameras versus the one-off instance in another state that is proven to
only give access like that to the district attorney. Yeah, district attorneys, AGs, you know, people that are higher up in the prosecutorial side, maybe. But even then, yeah. Well, he wants to draw attention to tell people about the Camry, but he should have thought about what it looks like to wear an inflatable dinosaur costume. You know what? To avoid flock cameras, we all must be wearing T-Rex costumes. It's his law. Dude, they don't even know the face. That's I forget the technical name. Gait tracking. It can tell people apart by how they walk and move. Oh, yeah, yeah.
To be a negative.
But the problem isn't always...
I think it's gait, G-A-I-T, if I'm not mistaken.
Always who's using the cameras. Sometimes it's that anyone can.
A few weeks ago, using a commercial search engine, I very easily found the administration interfaces for dozens of Flock safety.
He was using Shodan, wasn't he?
Found that, you could kind of get like root access to some of them just if you had physical access to them and you hit a couple buttons on there. And I found that one of these was in Bakersfield, California. I just started like frantically Googling and using Street View and things like that. Like Big O Tires was one of them. And that's about 2 hours from where I live. So I drove up there and I, found the Big O Tires and I walked around, and sure enough, I like logged in, or I just like opened the URL, and I was watching myself in real time as I was like crossing with my dog.
Making the surveillance network that was once contained to law enforcement able to be infiltrated by anyone. And
this is kind of similar to the whole Salt Typhoon, where they got access to the back door for legally wiretapping telecommunications, a system that was designed only for law enforcement, but then was used to backdoor all the communications in the entire United States.
That's when I got a text from my wife to pick up chicken.
Didn't even think about that Shodan or Nmap. Yep.
From the store, which would mean I would have to travel over 2 miles, passing 3 Flock cameras, an estimated 24 CCTV cameras, and a lot more doorbell cameras.
So obviously there were some problems with the sheet.
Kind of like what White Clan is.
We don't have to talk about that. There was another problem.
Don't have to talk about it.
Cameras, I still looked like a person or an object walking down the street. I guess that means I failed the last mission.
But this time, I had a new idea to make myself truly invisible to surveillance cameras.
It's this thing right here. So,
by attaching a camera to my chest, which is live streaming to the TV on my back, not only do I not offend anyone, but I also become invisible.
Is he trying to Harry Potter invisible cloak himself? Dude. Why?
Let's go get some chicken.
Bro, if you thought the ghost outfit was not giving you enough attention... Look, even the dogs are like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
While I was playing hide and seek from the government, the very network I was hiding from was quietly tearing Minneapolis apart.
Right now, more federal agents are heading to Minneapolis to help
You
with...
should try a green morph suit. Yes! A green morph suit! Just have him run around. No. A pink one. Have him run around doing Filthy Frank. Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker!
Is calling its biggest operation.
Laura's clearly hurting almost immediately.
Immigration enforcement has deported thousands of people from Minneapolis. But nobody seems to be asking how they're finding these people they're deporting, sometimes even leaving abandoned cars left behind.
Local police will run searches on behalf of ICE and then give that information to ICE.
Federal agents access flock cameras, possibly in violation of a state law prohibiting their use for immigration purposes.
And Flock is doing this all while insisting they're not.
And especially if there's no way to opt out, your photo basically gets added to databases of 250 million other photos that the federal government controls.
As far as I know, this was the only way to opt out. But is this really a solution? I was still becoming constantly worried that turning myself invisible was the only way forward. But in the process of becoming invisible to the cameras, I became more visible to everybody else.
Yeah, like I was saying. I also want to point out he had like 90% charge when he started this.
And that's when I remembered something Jason told me.
He's now down to 13%.
One of the goals of surveillance is to like control people, and I think that if you are like constantly worried about this sort of thing. I think that like kind of dropped.
You know, I just remembered that there's this plastic that was developed that supposedly makes you invisible. It doesn't really, kind of just makes you almost invisible, but you could still see like a blurry shape in the middle of the camera's resolution isn't crystal clear. You would be invisible to the cameras. Bro's taking his privacy to the next level.
Being out of society is not really like a solution.
In order to accomplish the impossible,
camouflage morph suit,
and remove myself from the system, I
there you go.
Myself from society. So yeah, I got my chicken, but it was time to be done with this madness. The real answer about how to avoid this surveillance system is much simpler.
Cities seem to be rebelling over in the United States when it comes to the flock safety cameras.
One by one, residents have been writing to their city leaders requesting that they remove the flock cameras from their streets.
Many Bay Area jurisdictions began to cancel or pause their programs administered by Flock Safety.
To date, over 30 municipalities have removed their cameras and canceled their flock contracts. With over 6,000 communities that currently have flock cameras, there's still a long ways to go, which is probably why Flock's CEO, remember this guy, Garrett Langley, sent an email to several police department customers claiming that Flock and law enforcement are under attack.
A coordinated attack.
YouTube videos. And it's true. A few months ago, after awareness was raised from some YouTube videos, some smart people built that mapping website I showed earlier that maps all flock cameras in the country using a website called OpenStreetMaps, where users like you and I can add flock.
We like OpenStreetMap around here.
That's what brings us to maps. If you look at my last video, where I mapped the last unmapped city in America with a drone. All right, here we go. And uploaded the images to Google Street View, some criticized me for invading that city's privacy. And to be honest with you, it all caught up with me when I was being interviewed by a reporter with the Daily Mail. There are comments that are critical of the video that I do agree with. There are comments that are praising the video that I do agree with.
Where exactly do you fall on? I'm guessing you fall on the we should map this. Everything should be out there.
Yeah, I don't really know where I fall on that, actually.
So I saw this as an opportunity to right my wrong. After learning about surveillance, the world doesn't need more images. So I removed the Street View images that I had posted. And while Wikipedia says all of the images have been removed, I left one on the map. If you zoom in, and this is totally real, there's one image left. It's just an image of me taking the picture. Because I think the only thing that we need to show is the person pointing the camera. So yeah.
Interesting take.
Them from Google. And immediately re-uploaded all of them to OpenStreetMaps because if you're going to use an unregulated network to track us, it's only fair that we use an open source map to look right back at that.
Fair enough. Okay, well done. But yeah, it's getting a little late, guys. So I do have work tomorrow. So unfortunately, I do have to call it a night. Make sure, if you haven't already, to follow me on all of my socials. I am on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, Discord, Matrix. The links are in the bio for all of that. As well, if you don't see them already, cheers, fuck work. But yeah, we'll be working on some content and stuff like that. I also apparently got a talk accepted, so I'll have more details on that over the coming few weeks. We'll be talking about DEF CON preparation. I'll be making videos around all of that. The next official stream here on Twitch and stuff is Sunday, around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll try to get on a little bit earlier. I did get Pragmata working, so we'll be playing that. But I may be back on the stream tomorrow, Thursday, possibly Friday and or Saturday, depending on how I feel, because we need to catch up on all this other content that we have to review. So, yeah. Thank you all for joining me. Love you all. Stay safe. I will see you on Discord or Matrix or Blue Sky or Mastodon in the meantime if you don't see me on all the other platforms. Otherwise, stay safe. Love you all. Stick around for the raid if you're on Twitch. And I will see you soon.